ShireDude.com.
We will defend these police officers.
Listen to police officers' commands, listen to what we tell you, and just stop. The nation needs to realize that when we tell you to do something, do it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, then the courts will figure it out.
We don't get to take the law, we enforce it. But at the end of the day, each and every man should go home safe. Sometimes the use of force is necessary. You need to comply with the police officer, the way the system was meant to be. Comply with the orders of police officers. Resisting arrest is a real and dangerous crime.
Nonpartisan Liberty for All. I'm your host, Dave Bourne, and it is January 5th, 2016, the first show of the new year, and I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas. I actually forgot to do something last minute, and as everybody knows, I'm like retarded when it comes to multitasking and talking at the same time. I still don't know why, so I'll try to do that real quick. There we go. And I am here. Actually, you probably didn't hear it because I didn't turn up the thing for you to hear it until after. But as you heard at the beginning, the Shire Dude commercial, which is is actually pretty cool. How did you get, who played the background music on that?
Oh, I did not hear it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No, the one, but yeah, I know you didn't hear it because I didn't turn it up. You heard the intro, right? You just missed the
commercial.
Yeah, because I didn't turn it up till after by accident. But it's the same one I had from before that it does the ShireDude.com, and it has like some. It almost sounds like some straight up gangster hip hop type music in the background, like some
not sure.
Dre
Was it
or
the
something.
female voices? The female voices.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
say ShireDude.com?
yeah. It's the female voices, and it's a pretty cool background. Here, we'll play it again for everybody. This one.
ShireDude.com.
Like, that's a cool beat in the background. Like, who did that? Did you play that?
I'd have to look that up. I do not remember. But I can tell you the voices were Anne Leverett, Renee, Renee Cates, and Cecilia. Actually, that was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun making that, and kind of like tweaking it too. I did like a DJ effect there where there's like a stutter. Yeah.
No, that was cool. No, I like the beat. I mean, I like it all together. It came out good, but I mean, I was thinking more from like that's a beat you could take and rap over, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It sounded like a cool beat there that you could take and actually rap over it. So I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I actually used to rap, but I'm retired, so you know.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit last time.
But
I tend to look for beats. You can find a lot of good like rap beats on YouTube actually, and if you do a search for, because whenever I use stuff, I make sure it's in the Creative Commons. You can actually do a Creative Commons specific search, so you're not stepping on anyone's copyright toes.
Right. You know, get sued there if the song gets big or something.
Mm-hmm. Either that or Free Music Archive. I use that a ton for all of my, like a lot of my videos and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
The Shire Dude theme song I found on Free Music Archive, which is Cougars by Dumbo Gets Mad.
And then you could take it and then make changes to it and stuff like that, and add stuff and just like sampling, like that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, tonight is our first night of 2016, and we've been gone. Well, I've been gone since last Wednesday, as I took New Year's Eve off. So, did you have a pleasant New Year's Eve up there in New Hampshire, or
It was cool. It was tough for me. I was moving. I remember. I think we talked about I was moving upstairs
you
last
told
time.
me you were moving.
Not a huge move, just upstairs. But and now I get to start on my new studio, which is going to be great. Right now, it's just an empty room it's got a couple things in it. But it's going to be freaking awesome. I'm definitely going to sound a lot better than this. I know I sound pretty good right now because I'm using a Blue Yeti, but
it does sound
I'm going to get
pretty
new
good.
like Audio Technica, most likely Audio Technica microphones.
Yeah, I got
and
those
like a
too.
whole soundboard setup. So that's coming up. But yeah, like I said, New Year's I was moving, so it was like I'd stop to party a little bit, and then I'd move a little bit more, and then I'd stop to party, and it was going back and forth.
Yeah, I didn't really do much. We went to a bar that was near like the fireworks or something. They have fireworks on the strip, and that was about it. And then we went to another bar and gambled a little, and that was about it.
Yeah.
But tonight we will be focusing on two of the presidential candidates, which everybody for the most part knows not really something I like to focus on, but it was more of a Shire dude idea, but I don't think it's a bad idea. And from the standpoint where you're going to get a totally different perspective than you would get on any other, government media or whatever. So
Sure.
So
yeah.
we're gonna-
These two candidates, they're getting so much media attention. Granted,
that was the other reason I didn't want to give them more and shit, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, the damage is done there. I don't think either one of them has a shot, like any kind of clear shot at a nomination, unless something crazy happens. But I think it's definitely worthwhile to kind of examine popular politics and see what the average person is thinking, and remind yourself how scary that is.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I have seen, and I don't know that I've seen many for Trump, although I believe there are people, I don't know what they are now, but there was somebody who has a radio show that used to call himself, I think he still calls himself an anarchist, but he's like a conservative or whatever now, as far as I'm concerned, who I think supports Trump. There have been so-called whatever anarchists, libertarians, people that support freedom and liberty, supporting Bernie Sanders as well. So these are two candidates that you do have. Now, I wouldn't call anybody who supports these candidates real people that believe in true freedom and liberty, because if you do, then you wouldn't want any rulers, so you wouldn't support any of these fuckers. So they may be more of minarchist or leaning towards that, or libertarian establishment type people. But how they can, if you look at some of the things that these guys are saying, you can't be any type of person that supports freedom in any way and really support them, because some of the shit that they support that is part of their agenda is totally just out there. And we'll get into that a little later in the show, but it's totally out there. I mean, the only people I can see is you have the people that call themselves anarchists that are leftist anarchists, I guess they call themselves. I can see them supporting Bernie Sanders to an extent, but everything he wants to do is via the government. So I don't know how you can support his platform via the government unless it's we have to do it this way first. Then once we turn it into a socialist country, then it will be easier to take the government out of it or some bullshit like that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's some of the logic that you get from people. I don't know.
Some nice economic illiteracy for you. I think, yeah, it's interesting too, because left anarchists tend to come from the anti-war movement generally. And Sanders is by no means anti-war, which kind of surprised me at first. Like when I first heard about him and started looking into like what he's about and heard about the hype. He's not anti-war at all. I mean, if we want to get into that issue, he voted to fund the war in Iraq. He voted to fund the war in Afghanistan. He voted to impose sanctions on Iran. This is all during his time in Congress. And he wants to continue the drone program. So, like, he's got no problem murdering people with drones. So
I didn't hear about the drones, but as far as Iraq, I thought he had said, "Now this doesn't mean he voted that way." Yeah, that's what he
verbally
said.
Against it, but he voted to fund it.
Okay,
so it doesn't make any sense.
Then that's what happened. That's what I had heard.
Yeah,
him saying that he was against it, but he didn't talk about his vote on it.
Of course, there are several different bills or for different military funding, and for some of them he voted against, and some of them he voted for. So somebody tried to tell me, this was a Sanders supporter on my Facebook page. She's like, "Oh no, see, he's anti-war when on these bills." I'm like, no, you can't be anti-war sometimes and not the entire time. You're 100% or nothing on that. Like, you can't just be, I'm only going to murder people every now and then. Yeah, that's not how it works. Yeah. And, of course, Trump is no better. I mean, if we're comparing here, Trump he's actually said, with terrorists, you have to take out their families. Like, that's a quote from him. You're not just murdering the terrorists. You have to take out their families, too. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
He said there's no one more militarized than him. That was a quote. So because he was trying to make a point that there was something that he didn't support that had to do with the military, and he said there's nobody more militarized than him. Because what he was saying, and we'll get more into detail into some of these things later, but he was saying that he doesn't support war so much as he does building up the military, so he scares everybody from doing anything, and then they don't have to use the military, but he will if he has to. And I'm like, motherfucker, do you know how much money is being spent on the military?
Right.
And you want to spend more money on the military because you think it's going to scare? I mean, if it's not scaring anybody now, I mean, really? You're going to spend what? How much more
what
money?
Point do you stop?
How is it going to be so scary? Are you going to like put just say, hey, we're putting a military base here in every fucking country. We're putting 5 of them, like if they have a mileage, so every 30 miles has to be a military base or something in every country. Is that what you're going to do? Why don't they just take the whole budget and like it's all military and then at
a certain percentage of the population, like what percentage of the population do you want to work for the military? If you get to like 100%, then aren't you just like another North Korea, you know?
Yeah, well, I think
what's the conclusion there?
The plan is they want the majority of people to work for the military, and I think it doesn't matter who gets elected. And we can sit here and say there's no way these guys are getting elected. However, if they are, in my opinion, what the powers that be want and they're controllable, then they have a good chance of getting elected. I just don't know. I mean, they can come off like they're not, just like Obama and his change, and he tried to come off like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this and that, and he was just like everybody else. And a lot of the things he wanted to change, I didn't agree with him anyway, but they could be doing the exact same thing and saying, and a lot of the stuff I put in my notes, the fascist versus the socialist, because basically they kind of have the same agenda, and that's to take more control. It's just how you're going to do it, you know, and that's what the goal to me of governments is to take more control. So if the powers that be can control these guys, then yeah. I mean, I'm still thinking it's Hillary because, you know, she's establishment. She's easily controllable. She's going to do what the system wants her to do, and she's already proven that.
Yeah, she's been in the system for so many years now.
Yeah, but Obama wasn't. So, I mean, he was kind of out of nowhere. There's rumors that his mom was CIA, and that's why she moved kind of, you know, all over the place. And I actually would buy that, to be honest. It kind of makes sense. I read something on it, and it actually made a lot of sense. But, of course, the person writing it, you got to look at their perspective. They're obviously trying to attack him. But either way, I mean, if you've been in the CIA, it doesn't mean you can't be president. So, but it did seem like he was kind of groomed to be president. And if you look at all these things of coming out of nowhere and being in his second year in the Senate or something, when he even started running for president. So, and I know you're supposed to run early because what happens is, you know, usually the first time you run, you don't win. So you might have to wait 8 more years, really, depending on which party wins, to run again. So you want to get in there relatively early and build up your name, you know, because if you look at guys, you've seen how they've gone from like the bottom or the middle and then kind of moved up. Like, I'm trying to think of an example because it hasn't been that way recently, you know, because you had, but Clinton, I think, ran before he became president. And then Bush, I don't know, that might have been his first time. But it used to at least be like that. Like Bob Dole, I remember, ran a bunch of times and then finally got the nomination. Romney ran a bunch of times and finally got the nomination. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like building up your reputation and, you know, putting in your dues. Like, okay, I ran for president a couple times and now finally I'm at the top type of thing. So, but Obama,
they usually previous senators too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Obama just got right in there, and I think that it had to do with the fact that maybe just, you know, you never know what to believe anymore. Because when you have a government that lies to you so much, who knows what the fuck they're lying about? I mean, I don't think anything's impossible.
I saw, and I'm going to preface this was a hoax that I found out later, but I saw on Facebook that Osama bin Laden was still alive, and Edward Snowden had revealed this in like documents, and he's still alive, and he's getting paid by the CIA. and I just scrolled through my feed, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. And I looked into it later,
but I understand why. Yeah, I understand why you would. Because it's like that's how they can get you, you know, like the fake, not the Onion, because the Onion pretty much makes it obvious for the most part.
Fake news site where it wasn't as obvious.
But they have ones that like it's so fucked up now that like, oh, that sounds plausible. So you see this shit and it's not hard to believe because, and then you realize, okay, this isn't true, but. Because you can't put anything past the government now. It's like they would do anything really, and I don't believe anything the government says. It's hard to really, and then you also have what agenda are they going for? So they might do something that's they wouldn't do this, but they do it, and then you're like, okay, is there some hidden agenda that we thought they were going to do this for this agenda, but then they do this? Is there an agenda there? And some of the times there may be no agenda at all. I mean, usually with politicians there is, but it might not be some big conspiracy type agenda. It might just be whatever. But who knows anymore? Like, what the fuck is going on? In all seriousness, it's like, okay, you know, there may be nothing to this. Like anytime somebody gets murdered, or you have a mass shooting or whatever, I understand why, and I question a lot of them too, because it's like, of course, this benefits. If you got a guy who's willing to pass executive orders to curb gun control, why wouldn't he pull off a fake, or not a fake, but why wouldn't he execute a real,
like a mass shooting scenario?
Yeah. I mean, why would anybody put that past him? Of course he would. So
they're doing real mass shootings in Iraq and Afghanistan all the time. You know, like,
so I mean,
why would they do them here?
You never know, and then it's like, okay, this could be just really what it is, what they say it was, but you just don't know, and that's really a serious problem. So it's just trying to look at as many facts as you can find, and really based on common sense and whatever facts you can find that you can believe what had happened. But so before we get to Trump and Sanders, there's a couple stories I want to talk about. That one I had just brought up, so we can talk about that first. That Obama is now calling on executive actions to put more restrictions on guns. And he has done this before, but he's taking it to a whole nother level here, from what I understand, that they're going to put the, if you're on the terror list, which basically, the no-fly list, which basically is, you could put anybody on it. You could, Shire dude. No, in all seriousness, I mean, they could put anybody on it for any reason, and there's no due process there. There's no nothing. Like, they could put me on it for, say, my show. I mean, I don't know that they're that aware of, but who knows? I mean, I had a friend who, got talked to by the Fusion Center because of something he posted on Facebook. So they're building up the infrastructure to be able to attract as many people as they can. So who knows? They could say, hey, put this motherfucker on the list because look at the shit that he's saying on his show. We need to watch this dude.
Oh,
so
easily. Yeah.
I could go buy a fucking, I haven't had any trouble. I had a delay once, but that just happens. Sometimes you'll just get a delay. It's weird. But, I've never had an issue with my background checks for my guns. So I could go in one day and get declined or denied. Or the other thing that they're doing is, I don't know how far they're going with doctor's records. Because I went into a doctor before and said, hey, I've been stressed out. I have had anxiety, and got something. So is that going to be something that's submitted to a database and say, well, you got some anxiety medicine from a doctor, so you can't have a gun?
Right.
I mean, are they going to go down to that detail, or is it, because really I understand, although I don't believe in background checks, but if they're going to have a mental database or whatever and submit people to that, I understand people that have been committed and have actually gone through court, but to just take any person that has ever been on any antidepressives or any anti-anxiety or anything like that, or ever went to a psychiatrist or had stress, or if they're putting anybody that falls into that category, I mean, that's more than 50% of the population.
That's throwing out a wide net.
Because even if you look at books like psychology books, clinical depression or just regular depression or anxiety or whatever, the odds are is that 50% of people, something like that, I don't know the exact number, but have experienced that before in their life. So if you're looking at it that way, basically what you're doing is they're finding a way to eliminate as many people as they can from having access to a gun. And I really think that's what they're doing. I mean, any little thing, like they did the with Russia, where they had sanctions with Russia. I don't know if these are still going on, but they banned the import of AK-47s, Russian made. And I have an AK-47, but it's not, it's like a one that was made with like surplus parts or whatever. It's not the greatest one in the world, to be honest, but it will fucking kill you. I'll tell you that. With those big ass fucking 7.62 by 36 millimeter or 39 millimeter bullets. Yeah, they'll put a big hole in you. But yeah, it seems like they're trying to eliminate as many people as possible. So it's like, well, let me see how many people can I eliminate from here. Then we're gonna pass this. We'll get rid of a bunch of people here, and then we'll get rid of a bunch of people here. I mean. And what they say is that, and I'm going to talk about this in detail next week, and you'll actually be joining me on that show. So tune in next Wednesday for that. So I don't want to get too much into this, but it's really, I believe, and they've done this with other countries, is you want to disarm the people because it makes it a lot easier to take over a country if you disarm the people. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty much saying that, Congress won't pass a law, so I just want to do this. I mean, that's what dictators do. Yeah. That's exactly what dictators do. They say, hey, I want to do this. I don't want people to have guns, so fuck it. So he's doing the no-fly list.
But at least he was nice about it. I mean, he sold it to us with his tears. If you've seen the video, I mean,
did they have those movie tears? Was he crying? Was he crying in the video?
Yeah, that was the big thing. Is he was crying when he was telling everyone about it.
He's so full of shit, man. He was probably thinking of if I can sometimes make myself cry. It's hard, but I could think of a song. I could think of like an ex-girlfriend and a sad song, like years ago, and make myself cry.
Just pinch yourself and tell yourself that your dog is dead, and that's it. That's all you.
Right.
Maybe some eye drops before you go on stage.
I mean, there's people that can cry on cue. So
I can cry on command pretty easily. Actually, I used to do some method acting, so it's not that hard. Yeah.
So there you go. And what are politicians? I mean, they're basically actors.
Right.
So that's a bunch of bullshit. But he, I mean, it's getting ridiculous that the stuff that he's trying to ban or laws he's trying to implement relating to guns with just an executive order. I got a pen. I got a phone. Yeah, my pen and my phone. Now give me a piece of paper. So, but yeah, we'll get into more detail on that next week. But what are your thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, well, the history of executive orders and how they've been abused is just preposterous. I don't think they should be a thing. Obviously, I don't think the whole system should be a thing. But those specifically have made the president very powerful and very dangerous. And I could rattle off. I'll probably look up some of these for next time that I'm on. Some nice quotes from Adolf Hitler and Mao Zedong about gun control and how that's beneficial for the dictator.
Yeah, and, there's a bunch of a bunch of those, and with the executive orders, I mean, first of all, as you said, I mean, even according to the Constitution, there's nothing that mentions executive orders. They use the general welfare clause or something to justify it somehow. But it really, because I read about them before, and it's really supposed to be administrative. So say there's a law passed and you write an executive order that kind of executes that law that's already been passed. Yeah. Like from an administrative standpoint, that's what it's supposed to be used for. It's not supposed to make new laws. It's supposed to be from an administrative standpoint that, okay, this law was passed and essentially you're administering that law.
Right.
Not just like, oh, well, I feel like making a new fucking law today and this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, on
and it's not like they have any recourse for doing or writing bad executive orders. How many presidents have been impeached? You know?
Yeah, one, but
Yeah.
he wasn't kicked out of office. And I think what I had read was only one executive order somehow was repealed, but it was like a fluke thing.
Oh.
So, Donald Trump, of course, says right away, I'm going to take that executive order and say you're fired. Well, he didn't actually say that, but he was like, I'm going to
he did say he was going to repeal
he said
Obamacare.
He said he was, because I watched some of the recent stuff, and he did say he was going to get rid of these executive orders. He's like, well, when I become president, I'll get rid of them. And they can do that they can come in. No one's done it at this point.
Yeah.
But they can, I guess, technically, they could go back and get rid of them all if they wanted to,
it's
I guess.
Very bold. That's super bold, just from like a managerial standpoint, coming in and undoing everything that your predecessor did.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it's like an unwritten rule that you don't do that. And that's all part of the whole thing, that they're all on the same team. This is a plan that is being executed no matter who the puppet is, and it's going to continue. So if that's the truth, then Trump is never going to get elected because they're never going to let it happen.
Right.
But, if he's for real, which I think he's a fucking joke, like I said, but if he's for real, there's a lot of stuff. He may get elected. I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff that they want to do that he talks about, but at the same time, there's some stuff that he would not be able to do. So
yeah, I have a theory about why Trump and Sanders are getting so much media attention. It comes from both of them being extreme, and and it's kind of like they're appealing to the youth in that way, because younger people these days tend to be more have extreme political views, than moderate, and so they're appealing to that youth by putting out so much media on these two crazies from the. I want to say that they're from the opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're not really, not in a freedom versus government control.
Yeah, they're not. See, because the whole thing is that, like I said, it's like a fascist versus socialist. It's they want government control. They want to control more of your life. It's just, how do you do it? And that's really the whole thing there. The only dispute between Republicans and Democrats is how do we control your life? Do we do it this way or this way? There's no dispute in passing more laws and being more controlling. You have some people out there, not many, that don't really want to do that, but maybe like, I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't know about Rand Paul, but you had Ron Paul, who was in Congress. So I'm sure you got like one or two people in maybe the House of Representatives, but they'd never let it get to a point where they had the overwhelming majority, because that's totally controlled too. All those elections and all of that, it's the same way, where it's controlled by the parties and they select the candidates, and you got to go through all this shit. So the other story I wanted to talk about briefly was this story in Oregon where, so from what I understand, and please add, feel free to add anything, that this family, they did something, it had to do with the Bureau of Land Management burning something, and then they said it was okay for the family to burn something around their ranch. Like, they own like this huge ranch in Oregon. And they went to jail they got sentenced to jail for like a year or something, a son and the father. So now they're saying, well, because of this stupid terrorist law after Oklahoma City, which I think was that I know from even talking to people that were close to that. I think I might have mentioned that to you on one of the shows, that I know for almost a fact that was bullshit. But they, because of this terrorist law, there's like a minimum sentence or something, and it was like 5 years. But the judge was like, well, this is ridiculous. Obviously, they're not terrorists. They were, it had something to do with, they weren't trying to hurt anybody. It didn't hurt the house. Like something with, they just needed to get rid of the brush or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a controlled
rancher.
It was like a controlled burn for some reason. I think it was actually to prevent fire, like a fire prevention thing. It was a controlled burn,
right?
So, yeah.
So it didn't burn any of their house or anything like that, and didn't hurt anybody. But because of this fucking law, they ended up going to jail. And I think one might have went for 6 months or 8 months, and one might have went for a year. I don't know, but the longest was a year, or they both might have went for a year. But now they're saying, well, because of this law, the judge was wrong, and you have to go to jail and serve 5 years, and you only served like 1 year, so you got to go back for 4 more years. And like, they're like, what the fuck? So from what I understand, they're not pushing any of these people, but it sounds like there's an unoccupied federal building, like right around there. And they've occupied the unoccupied federal building, if that makes sense. And they're armed. But the Hammond family, I guess, is what they're called, or is the last name of the son and the father. But they're saying that they're going to go to court and fight it, or they'll go to jail. They didn't ask the militia to come down, but the militia came down anyway with Eamon Bundy, who was Cliven Bundy's son, and most people know about what happened at the Bundy Ranch, where there was an armed conflict there with the BLM, which ended in the BLM standing down. So it's confusing here what the goal is by sending a militia down there in the first place, when it's not really to protect them from being arrested or anything. So I don't know. I'm not clear on what they're doing.
Yeah, I see there's a quote here from one of the articles you were looking at. There's an Army veteran from the group, and he's saying that it's a liberation of public lands. So I guess it's kind of like a large scale homesteading, where it's just land that's not in use, that's not really owned by anyone because the government is claiming it.
Right.
And obviously, I don't recognize the government as having the ability to claim land the way they do.
Yeah, I don't know how they can own. I mean, they own like 80-90% of the state of Nevada. I don't understand that, but okay.
Yeah, and like over half of Oregon, where this is happening. So
yeah,
and
a lot of the western states.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them. They're grabbing up the land, and so I guess it makes sense. It makes sense that the federal government would want to own as much as possible, so they can do what they want. But
yeah, but they shouldn't. I mean, if you look at that, like if somebody wanted to buy any of that land, they should be able to fucking buy it. Why should the? Well, I guess it depends, because then I'm thinking of all these corporations that might come in and buy it. But if I like wanted to build a house in the middle of the desert, and I just wanted to buy like some land to build a house, and the federal government's like, no, this is our land. I'm like, well, what claim do you have on it? That's one thing that I always had an issue with, that I can't, it's hard to really understand how anybody has a claim to land if you think about it. I
Especially
believe
land
in
that you're
private
not
property
using actively.
Yeah, well, definitely if it's land that, is just sitting there. Because what's the difference between what they did, right? So when they came over here and kicked the Indians off of the land or whatever, and there's nobody on that land, why can't I just go on that land and say, hey, I'm going to build a house here. This is my fucking land. What's the difference? Now that it became a country that they somehow have, it's really fucked up if you think about it, because when it comes to land, it's like a first come first serve thing, because people have gotten this land ages ago. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing that it's always been hard for me to comprehend. When it comes to land, who really has the right to that land? And really with any land, it's like, okay, well, this person bought it from this person, from this, you can go all the way back, but who got it in the first place? That somebody just came over and said, this is my land.
Yeah, I like that. That's why I like the homesteading principle. Just kind of looking into, if the land's not in use, like there's a shack somewhere, you walk there and it looks really abandoned, like nobody's been there for years and years, and it doesn't look like anyone's coming back, then you can take the shack and call it your own. And if somebody comes around and says, hey, no, this is my great-great-great-grandfather's shack, then you go in front of a judge and kind of hash it out, and the judge decides. But
is that still that's not in effect anymore, right?
Yeah, no, that's not really happening. That's just kind of like, ideology, like libertarian ideology.
Because I agree with all this fucking land that's empty, that if we want to take any of this land, now, I don't think somebody should be able to just go and say, okay, well, I'm going to take this huge amount of land and it's just mine. But if you want to go build a house and take a reasonable amount of land to build a house and have a little backyard.
Yeah, I always joke with friends of mine that, I'm going to draw a really big circle around us on this map here and call it Narnia, and then name myself king, and then you have to get off my land.
Right.
Because that's essentially what the government does.
Right, because you can't do that. You can't just... They'll bring in the fucking Bureau of Land Management. Luckily, they're a bunch of pussies and they back off if you get enough guns. But it's kind of crazy when it comes to that. There's all this empty land, and from the beginning, people, that's how they got it in the fucking first place, really. I mean, how did people get land back in the 17 and 1800s? They just, hey, this is my fucking land.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not like there's any shortage of land.
No, I mean, we had talked about, I think it was
the last show we did. Yeah,
that we had talked about how we could fit everybody in Texas and the whole fucking world. Yeah. So, I mean, Nevada's empty as a motherfucker. So. And it's all the government saying this is our land. Based on what, motherfucker? Like, no, I'm taking this land and I'm building a house. It's empty. But because that's what they did, but that was okay. That, the federal government just took over all this land, Manifest Destiny, and said, oh, this is our land because we say so. But I can't go to empty land that nobody's using and say, hey, this is my land. I can, but then I'm going to probably get killed. So we need to do a show on that at some point, because I really wanted to really explore that in detail, the whole land thing, because I do believe in private property, and I definitely believe in private possessions. I mean, no doubt. Like, that whole thing where, and this is what a lot of left anarchists believe, you don't own anything. Like, you'd share everything. It's like, okay, yeah, you could take my pants when I take them off and fucking wear them or something. I don't know. They have like some place. Is it in Denmark that they have some like socialist kind of? But they're calling it like a libertarian type anarchist something, that it's like that. But you don't own anything. It's basically everybody just shares everything. I don't know if it's Denmark or someplace else in the Scandinavian countries, but it's the same concept where people don't own anything. Now, I don't know if they literally like take their fucking clothes, but like they don't own cars or they don't own anything like that. They don't own the land. They don't own the, you know. So that's definitely an interesting thing to talk about. And the other thing is if everything was private property, because you have some people that say everything should be private property. And there's a lot of, if everything was private property, then you get into a whole nother fucking thing, because it's okay, everything's private property. You get to make the laws on your property. So essentially, people that don't have property are controlled by everybody else in a sense, because whatever land they're on, they have to obey the laws of the owner. And that's just
that's assuming that all the land is owned.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If there's no private property, I mean, if it's all the other way around. If there's no public property, if everything's private property, if everything's privately owned,
yeah, I think there'd still be pretty large swaths of land between private estates where you could hang out and be just free for yourself, homeless, I guess. I don't know if you don't own any land. And then if it is like to a point where you could just kind of pick up any land that you want, then if you didn't own any land and you're just kind of walking around in this, emptiness, you'd probably start building yourself some sort of abode. So that would probably end homelessness pretty quickly if people could just set up wherever they wanted. Whatever little kind of shack you want to throw up. A tent. There you go. Buy a tent at Walmart. I claim this land next to Walmart.
You ever, as a kid, have Lincoln logs? They were like these. Yeah. You could build like a cabin with them.
Yeah,
those are pretty cool. So I don't want to get totally off topic here, but maybe in the future we'll do a show about that, because it's always been something I wanted to talk about. But what we're going to do now is we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk all about Trump and Sanders, what they stand for, why anybody would want to support them. I guess just being different, but we'll go into all the details about that and more. You can check out Shire Dude at shiredude.com. And you can, of course, check out the show at nonpartisanlibertyforall.com. You can now listen to the archives right after the live show on YouTube, as well as SoundCloud and Twitter. And I might be missing one there, too. So, and, of course, Spreaker. Everything's there on Spreaker. So all the links are at nonpartisanlibertyforall.com. So go to the YouTube channel and check that out and subscribe to that, because I think if I get enough views there, which I need so much more, I can maybe get some money or something. So watch some of the videos on it's not really a video, it's just a picture and the the sound of the show. But at some point I'm thinking about following other people's leads and actually putting it on YouTube as well, where you can see me sitting in a studio by myself, and nice and entertaining. I'll need to get like background dancers or something, like strippers in the background. That probably would be pretty cool. So we'll be right back after this. nonpartisanlibertyforall.com.
Now let me tell you something no other candidate will tell you. No matter who is elected, that person will not be able to succeed because the power of corporate America, the power Street. The power of campaign donors is so great, no president alone can stand up to them. The power of corporate America, the power of Wall Street, the power of campaign donors is so great. That is the truth. That is the reality. That is the truth. People may be uncomfortable about hearing it, and that is why what this campaign is about. This campaign is about not just electing Bernie Sanders, it's about creating a grassroots political movement in this country. No matter who is elected, no matter who is elected, who is elected, who is elected, a grassroots political movement in this country.
And now a message from Donald and Melania Trump.
Good evening. As the man who's almost certainly your next president, I wanted to give you a chance to get to know the real Donald. Now, you're probably looking at this lovely woman here and thinking, whoa, who's this? Another bangable daughter? Actually, it's my beautiful wife, Melania.
Hello.
She's great, just great.
Welcome to our humble gold house.
Not bad, right? I mean, talk about foreign policy experience. We got the same interior decorator as Saddam Hussein. Now, I asked Melania to be here tonight to help me clear up some of the lies that those losers and morons are saying about me. Like that I hate women. How can I hate women when I've got the world's greatest woman right here?
Yes, Donald loves women. You know, he always saying, that woman is knockout, that woman is a 10, that woman used to be a 10, but hey, she's still a 7, you know? And he always very supportive to me. Like, when I asked to go spa or go shopping, you know, he always say, that's fine, go.
All of this stuff's been blown out of proportion. I mean, like the Megyn Kelly stuff.
Yes, people say it was not nice to her, but he was worried. You know, he said she's bleeding everywhere, she should go to hospital.
That's right. I was actually afraid she was gonna die, honestly. I love Megyn Kelly. I love her. I think she's great. She's talented and beautiful, but she's a heifer who's always on her period, and I hate her, and I hope she dies.
You know, I think they always twist his words, like with immigration.
Clearly, I don't hate immigrants.
Yes, I know he's pro-immigration because I was in Slovenia and Donald saw a picture of me in a magazine that he called me and said, hey, come to America.
It's very true.
And they say, I can't come, you crazy old man. I don't have green card. And they say, screw green cards. They're for poor people. Just get over here.
Hey.
Yeah, he said, what can they do? Round up all the illegal immigrants and deport them? That's impossible. You know, logistically, how are they going to find everyone?
Well, we'll find a way.
You know, Donald is so smart. He's so good with the media. You know, he knows that if he said the craziest thing, he will go up in the poll numbers.
No. Come on, Melania. That's just not true. I don't say outrageous things just for poll numbers. I speak from my heart.
Really? Okay, because I hear your numbers go down a little this week.
Mexicans are stealing our children.
You see? He does not even have to think about it. He's genius.
Thank you, darling.
You know, that's why I don't get how critics say he has no ideas or plans, because he has so many. Tell them your plan for economy.
Well, it's very simple. You see, I get in there. Taxes go down. Everybody gets a job. Salaries go way up. We build a wall. It's huge. Over in China, they're going to say, now that's a wall.
You see, and this is how I know Donald is so smart, because I hear this, and to me, it's, you know, just jumble of words, like it makes no sense. But, you know, I'm not smart like Donald. I didn't go to Hogwarts, School of Business.
You want to know my plan? Here's my plan. I got the smartest guys. So what do you think? Are you ready to do this, America?
Yes, please put Donald in the White House. You know, he is total package. He's strong.
No, I didn't ask her to say that.
He is wise.
This is all off the cuff.
He is good in bed.
Those are her words.
You know, he's the only man who can unite both sides. Because he's running as Republican, but his ideas are actually more like Democrat.
Well, that's not really
Yeah, actually, he was Democrat before he was Republican.
I think we're getting a little off
and on
topic,
social
actually,
issues,
so...
you know, you can be gay, you can have abortion. He don't care.
Look, here's the bottom line. I'm just like you, a regular Joe, but better. A man of the people.
Yes, like everyone else, you know, he puts his hair on one strand at a time.
Live from the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, it's the Republican Debate with your moderator, Wolf Blitzer.
Good evening. For those of you who missed our earlier undercard debate featuring Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum, well, the results are in and everybody lost. Now, let's meet the candidates. 9 are here tonight. The 5 who are actually have a chance are Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, and poor, sweet Jeb Bush. Would the rest of you just wave so your parents know you're here?
Hey, Baba Boy!
We begin with the front runner, Mr. Trump. Your opening remarks.
Debates are stupid. You should be paying me, and Wolf Blitzer looks like Papa Smurf.
Wolf, may I take a desperate swing at Donald now?
Go ahead, Mr. Bush.
This is what he does. He says these offensive things, then he bullies anyone who challenges him. Well, guess what? You can't insult your way to the presidency.
Oh, really, Jughead? Because I'm at 43, and you're at 3. Jeb, you're a nice guy, but you're a lightweight, and I know for a fact that you pee sitting down.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
All right, let's go to the surging Ted Cruz. Senator, you said you will relentlessly carpet bomb ISIS. Is this a real strategy?
Well, Wolf, if I'm president, I can promise you ISIS will hate me. And how do I know? Because everyone who knows me hates me. Democrats hate me. Republicans hate me. I have what doctors call a punchable face. Politico actually did a poll, and I was voted the candidate most people wanted to throw a beer at. So look out, ISIS, because I'm going to crash your party. And just like every party I go to, I'm going to ruin it.
Governor Christie, what steps would you take to keep Americans safe?
Wolf, I would like to answer that with a series of fear-mongering statements.
Go ahead.
We are under attack, and we are all gonna die. Mothers are putting their kids on buses, and these buses are being driven off cliffs by terrorists. Today, in our great country, 1 out of every 3 babies born are already in ISIS. They are here, folks, and I am the only one up here with the stones to take them on. I am a cowboy. On a steel horse I ride. Bon Jovi forever!
Listen to this man! He's trying to start World War III!
Sir, we're not taking comments from the audience yet.
No, I'm Rand Paul. I'm up here.
Oh, sorry. Well, let's go to Dr. Carson. Doctor, do you, a brain surgeon, have the experience and toughness to deal with world leaders like Vladimir Putin?
Well, that question makes me furious, Wolf. I might go ham up in here right now. Of course I can be tough. As a surgeon, I had to tell people things they didn't want to hear. Not that they had to have brain surgery, that it would be performed by me, a man who they believe to be asleep. But I'm not asleep. I'm amped, I'm jacked, and I'm ready to throw down. What do you think of that, Mr. Putin?
Miss Fiorina, your thoughts.
You want to talk about Putin? I know Vladimir Putin personally. I sold him an HP printer, and now he hates my guts. It doesn't work. It never worked. And when Putin calls me to complain, I just smile that classic Carly Fiorina smile.
Okay, well, it looks like Jeb's got his courage back up. He's ready to take another run at Trump. Mr. Bush, go ahead and say out loud what you've been quietly muttering to yourself.
Trump? I mean, this guy's the chaos candidate? Am I right? Chaos? Is he for real? Nah, man.
Jeb, you're a very nice man, but you're basically a little girl. Folks, this is true. I got hold of Jeb's birth certificate, and full disclosure, his real name is Jebra.
Promoting the ideas of true freedom and liberty, nonpartisan liberty for all radio with Dave Bourne.
Nonpartisan liberty for all. That was a couple clips from Saturday Night Live, and I really don't see any difference when they go to Trump in the clips from Saturday Night Live than him actually speaking, to be honest. I mean, he's saying the same fucking shit. So, and later we'll play some actual clips of him, but what I got out of Trump, so I listened to a bunch of rallies, and it looks like he's doing rallies all over the country, everywhere. You know, he was in New Hampshire, he was in Massachusetts, he was here in Las Vegas. He was, and the two things he mentioned, you know what the two things he mentioned in Massachusetts and New Hampshire were? What was that? They had in common the heroin epidemic, that they're going to get rid of that. So good luck with that. Huh. I had actually heard that from Ellen, who was a former co-host on the show. Now she's doing, as far as I know, she's still doing it on LRN at 10 o'clock Eastern, Anarchists.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, Ellen does a good job, but that's all I have to say about it. Anyway, it is on. Listen to it 10 Eastern on LRN, which I think I have a feud with LRN. So
a feud?
A feud. A slight feud. Well, with the management, not with the people that are on the what do you call it? Not with the shows
like
that
the
are
podcast
on LRN. Yeah, not those people.
Because that would be a lot of feuds.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shows. No, with management.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're on at 10 o'clock p.m. on LRN on Fridays, and I had a point that she had mentioned.
Trump mentioning the heroin epidemic.
Oh, yeah. Ellen had mentioned that there's a heroin epidemic or something. But the media always fucking does that shit, though. They'll say, and I don't know. I mean, you're there, so I don't know. And I have family right outside of Boston, so I don't know if it's more Western Mass and New Hampshire, that part of Massachusetts or what. But I mean, is it, as far as you know, is that a legitimate thing, or is it just like?
Yeah, it's really going on. It's there's like been a huge spike in heroin use.
But I mean, so is it up 50%? Is it up 10%? Like, what would you say? And I know you're not going to know exactly, but if you had to,
I wouldn't have a number.
If you had to speculate, like if you had to take a guess.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's up. It's up dramatically. There was this graph that I saw. I remember.
But how would they know that?
I mean, just cases of like ODing.
Okay, so because with that, and maybe I'll even take a look at this, because with that, it can get very skewed with shit like that. Because say before, 20 people a year were ODing, and now 40 people a year are ODing. Mm-hmm. Well, you just, doubled the amount, which if you go percentage wise is huge, but is it really that huge? Is 20 more people die? I don't know. And again, I'm not saying, either way. I'm just always skeptical about that shit, especially when it comes to drugs, because it helps their agenda of, oh my God, we got an epidemic here, we have to stop. And
over here in New Hampshire, we got Free Stater State Rep Amanda Bolden, who turned that around and is pushing for... I think I'm friends with her
on Facebook.
Yeah, you should be. She's pushing for Narcan to be more readily available. She already successfully passed the Narcan bill, and she's looking to pass.
Yeah, I heard about that. And I mean,
that stuff it helps. It keeps people alive for a little while longer while they're ODing on heroin.
You know
gives
what?
Them more time to respond. Yeah.
You know what might be the reason, to be honest? In October, Vicodin and anything with hydrocodone went from class 3 or schedule 3 to schedule 2. Mm-hmm. So it went a lot harder to get. So, it's not the same thing, but they both have opium in them. So people might say there may be people that went to heroin because they couldn't get their pills. It happens.
Yeah, it's possible.
So if that was around the time when it happened too, then there might be some correlation. There might be a correlation there and obviously it's another thing of the government trying to protect people and making things worse. It's just like the same thing with drugs where, you have people huffing glue when I was a kid and the bath salts and the whatever else they can get their hands on because they want to ban, marijuana or something. It's just it's crazy shit. But anyway, he
when you ban the nice drugs like marijuana, you get a lot of really terrible drugs that take their place, like spice. Yeah.
Well, even with pills, and I know they say people OD on pills, but at least with the pills, you're getting it from a pharmacy. You know what you're getting. It's been tested. It's not. It's not like you're going to a street corner and buying something that could be mixed with something else, or you know what I mean? So it's just fucking retarded as far as I'm concerned. Everything should be just legal. Let pharmaceutical companies make all this stuff. You're getting. I mean, it doesn't make it safe, but it makes it a lot safer. But I mean, you can OD on, basically anything. So,
yep. But you can OD on water.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's exactly what I was thinking.
That college student.
But that's unlikely. But you can either get something that at least is a lot better for you than. And somewhat natural than to get, something off the street from, in some alley. And then you put yourself in danger as well, because who knows if that person's not going to rob you or shoot you, or you're scared, so you're going to bring a gun or something and you end up shooting them, or I don't know. All the bad movies that you've seen with like drug dealing. But anyway, so with Trump, so I watched all these rallies. Like I was saying, I think I watched 4 of them, and every one was pretty much the same exact speech, almost word for word. So I wanted to go through some of these things because I think it's important that people know this. And I don't know that people really care. I would think people care more because the one thing I can't stand is an arrogant person. I can't stand arrogant people. And I hate when, like, in general, if I'm around people I don't know, I'm shy. So that may come off as like arrogant or something. Like, oh, I didn't say hi to somebody or whatever. That, you know, just not somebody I know, but I mean, somebody I didn't know or whatever. More when I was a kid, I think, than now. But when I was a kid, I was shy. So I'm still a little shy around people I don't know. So it might come off as like arrogance. And so I hate that people may think that because I can't stand arrogant people. I can't. That's why I can't stand. One of the reasons I can't stand that fucker from the Freedom Fiends. One of the most arrogant people I've never met him in person, but anything I've heard him on, the arrogance is just like, I'm so great. Maybe he had issues when he was a kid or something. I don't know. Anyway, Trump has always been arrogant. I had mentioned the interviews on Howard Stern when first of all, you got to think of it this way. If you look at his history, he got money from his father anyway, but he would brag about, I got to have the name Trump. So you think of it from that perspective that he wanted his name everywhere. Then he comes up with his own fucking TV show and he's bragging about the ratings, that my show's so great, my ratings are so great, NBC loves us, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And he's just going through the same thing. And I think it's ego that's even driving him to become president. Because it's really the main two things I noticed, and we'll go through his agenda as well, but was the first two things were arrogance and ego. That's right away. And those shouldn't be the first two things you notice when you're looking at a candidate.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's partially because of his background in business. Oftentimes in the business world, confidence is mistook for competence, and thus you get these arrogant pricks running the show. These guys end up getting promoted over and over again because they're so confident and they're boastful.
Sorry to interrupt, but there's a noticeable difference between being confident in something and being arrogant, and it's very noticeable if you look for it. Like, you can tell that somebody's confident in what they're doing and them being actually just arrogant about it. And with Trump, it just it's if I had to rate his level of arrogance, it's off the charts.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's not like a close kind of thing where, oh, maybe it's just that he's really confident.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people are mistaking his confidence.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you're saying that fans of his or supporters, it's like he has fans, but his supporters are looking at the arrogance more like as confidence.
Yeah, they're looking at it and thinking, oh, wow, he must really have, everything to back that up. If he's talking like that, he must really be on the ball. Well, he's not. It's all talk.
Right. And the other thing, too, was that he had been like the type of guy who hung out with celebrities and stuff like that. And he was close to, for a while, before he got involved in politics, and I'm sure it really affected his relationships, he was friends with all these celebrities. Yeah. So I think people look at Trump, he's always been like a celebrity businessman. Yeah. And that shows his arrogance too, because most businessmen that do the type of thing that he does, you don't know who they are. Maybe you know their name, but that's it. You don't know anything about them. Trump put himself out there from the beginning where he had this ego and this arrogance and wanted to be known and wanted to hang out with celebrities and wanted to be, hey, look at me. It's like a need for attention or something. And that's why I almost think like the presidency is some kind of need for attention. Like, oh, look at me. I can be fucking president. Like, look at all the stuff I did and now I can be president. So a couple things that I started, I think I mentioned a couple of them earlier when we were talking about it, but as far as being arrogant, I think I mentioned this, that he said he should have been Times Man of the Year. He has great genes. He built great businesses, although some of them...
This is all stuff he's saying during his rally?
Yes, during all of them. Now, he, of course, integrates them. I should have cut those pieces out, but I didn't have time. But because the rally is like an hour and 20 minutes or whatever. But during the rally, he's integrating all of these into his speeches. And these are what his speeches are about. Probably half the time is spent on his ego and his arrogance. So he's talking about he's leading all the polls. So he probably takes about 10 minutes and goes through the polls. He's like, this poll, I won this debate from this paper says, 60% I won. From this paper it says 80% I won. And right now I'm ahead of this candidate by this much and this candidate by this much. And he says how smart he was. I'm almost quoting what he's saying. I mean, I'm paraphrasing to an extent, but it's almost a quote in that what he's saying. He mentioned that his ratings are so high when he goes on other shows. He mentioned how smart not only he is, not only how smart his family is, but how smart his supporters are. And see, I would say the opposite, that his supporters are fucking morons because they're falling for this shit. And then let me just go through a couple other things that I tried to separate between arrogance and ego, but I don't even know where to draw the line on him, like which is really his ego and which is just being arrogant, because it's kind of with him, it's just kind of all together. But he talks about himself in the third person. We talked about that, like, that's right, Trump is the best out there. I'm the best candidate. Trump is going to win. He says he's going to win. He's confident. I guess there's a difference in being confident that you're going to win than being arrogant, but it still comes off as arrogant. He talks about packing everywhere in the stadiums, and in every single fucking speech, he brought this up too. He said they don't show the stadiums to show how full they are, unless there's somebody they have to kick out. He's like, he was.
Why doesn't he get someone and take a few pictures of how full his stadium is?
I don't know. He was literally
get a digital camera on your phone, man.
He literally told the cameraman, "Turn your camera around."
Oh wow!
I'm not kidding. It might have been the one in New Hampshire where he says, "Turn your camera around," to kind of pan through the audience. And he's like, "Look at him. He won't even turn his camera around." It's like, it's probably his boss, His boss will fire him. He's like, right. I wish I could fire him. He said he won all the debates. He keeps talking about his school. He brought that up in every single fucking speech too. He's like, I went to an Ivy League school. I forget what school he went to, but he's like, I went to an Ivy League school. That's why in one of those Saturday Night Live things, he brought that up, and it was funny because he says it all the time. He's like, I went to an Ivy League school. Of course, he's going to win, and Hillary doesn't want to run against him. Hillary's scared. So those are the things that I had noticed that were just repeated again and again and again. And then there's some things that were repeated that actually have to do with issues. So we'll get to that after, but he was repeating the same stuff in all his speeches. I mean, you kind of got to mix it up. I understand, like, like a stand-up comedian will go from city to city pretty much doing the same thing, or a band, but you're somebody running for president. I think you got to mix it up a little there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So what's your opinion on all of that before we get to the issues?
Yeah, when he's speaking on a show or any kind of public appearance, there's a real lack of substance to anything that he's saying, and like he was talking about like military strategy on this newscast that I was just watching today, and the guy asks him, "Oh, so are you gonna bomb these people?" And Trump's like, "I'm not even gonna tell you what I'm gonna do because it's got to be a secret because I'm gonna be the president."
He kept saying that too. He said that wasn't the word he used. Fuck, the word he used is unpredictable. He's like, we got to be unpredictable. Yeah, he said that in every single speech too. He's like, I want to say this, but I got to be unpredictable. And he's like almost like half a robot. Like I've never seen like a real, you get like the fake kind of smile and fake kind of laugh.
Yeah.
But I never got like a kind of happy smile or a genuine happy anything from him. Yeah. It's always like he'll make jokes, but he'll make your sarcastic jokes. Like Bush only has 3%. I got like 45, so I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, it's like he's half monotone as well, but sometimes he does kind of make a joke, but it's like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger as Terminator, like making a joke. It is. It's like, like.
Yeah, that rings true for a lot of politicians too. Just how robotic sounding they are and their motions.
And that I understand. You got to be under. I don't understand for him though, because he is an egomaniac in the arrogance. But I understand, you have a certain amount of people, you have nervousness, but I don't think he's nervous at all, because for him it's just like, I really think he's that arrogant that he believes it. But usually people that are arrogant and have a big ego, it's because of something lacking from like their childhood, like they didn't get enough attention or something.
Yeah, there must have been something seriously lacking with this guy's childhood.
Yeah, but I don't get that from him now that he like gives a fuck. Like I don't see him being nervous at all. Like I understand being nervous, and I would be, and you're up there trying to do your best in the debates and in speeches, but I don't see any nervousness from him. I just see the robotic.
I think, part of him. One of my theories about him running is that he sees it as like a business venture.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get something out of it. He's trying to get money out of it. Whether it could just be a name recognition thing.
Well, I also
get back in the spotlight.
Yes, that's what I think as well. I think that's probably more driving it than anything. Yeah. That he wants to. His ego is so big that nothing's enough. It's like somebody who is a thrill seeker who has to, people seek thrills in different ways. Some people need to do like, jump off buildings or something, or, race cars or do all this type of stuff. I think for him, that's his type of, because of his ego, that he can go through and say, I built businesses, I had a successful TV show, I became president. Mm-hmm. So for me, I really think that it's all about the ego, and that's why he's in it. And he's in there to show, like, look what I did, look what I accomplished. I just, going back to the why he's like that, maybe he felt he had the daddy love me syndrome, where he didn't get enough attention from his father, and it's something he didn't get over.
I mean, his dad only gave him, $1 million to start up a business. Come on.
Well, a couple more. I think it was like 3. Right.
And then
there was what? That reminds me of something. Sorry to interrupt. Did you see the movie Get Hard or Getting Hard? It's not a porno. It's with Will Ferrell and it's a black dude. I can't think of his name. Kevin Hart. And he's gonna go to jail for something he didn't do, but he's like a corporate guy, so he doesn't know anything about jail, and Kevin Hart's supposed to get him ready for jail.
I haven't seen that, but that sounds funny.
But I had a point there, and at the beginning, his father-in-law, who runs the business, who actually set him up. I guess that's a spoiler, but it's a comedy. It's not like, you can tell from the beginning. But he's like, I started this company and I built it myself with this one computer and $8 million from my dad. And, it's like, okay. So that kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, I mean, that's I think what it is.
Yeah,
but
you gotta wonder though if Trump sees any kind of financial gain out of, well, he's got to see financial gain out of becoming president. But if there's any financial gain from just running for president, because if he becomes president, obviously he can do all sorts of great crony capitalist kinds of things.
Well, even after, I mean, you can write a book, you can do speaking engagements, and all that shit. But I don't think there's a lot. Well, maybe because he's putting all his money into it, so he says that after, like you said, maybe they can do the documentary on his run for president, even if he doesn't win. But I don't think it's a good business venture. I don't think he's going to win a lot of money or anything.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, not win. He's not playing a game, but I mean, like it's going to add up to a lot of money if he doesn't get elected. If he does, you're set. You're pretty much set for life from a bunch of different areas. Yeah, and so. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but I think he doesn't care about the money. It's, like I said, it's the ego, and I really think he believes he's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he genuinely believes most of what he says, which is the scary part. Yeah, man. So did you listen to any of the any Sanders talks as well, or was it mostly Trump?
Yeah, I have Sanders stuff as well, but I kind of wanted to go through Trump first, if that's all right. Sorry, sure. I was eating a piece of broccoli. I got my dinner delivered in the middle of the show.
Oh, nice.
Well, I mean, it was delivered from my fiance made it, so that was nice. But not literally delivered from somewhere. But so is that anything else on the? Because I want to get into his agenda as well. But anything else on anything I just brought up?
No, I think we pretty much nailed it.
And if anybody else wants to comment, you can call in at 702-470-7664. Again, that's 702-470-7664. Or you can Skype into the show at Nonpartisan Liberty for All. Just send a contact request, your name, what you want to talk about, where you're calling from. And if you want to actually call, again, at 702-470-7664, it would be helpful if you could send a text first with your name and where you're calling from and what you want to talk about, and that will speed up the screening process. I don't think I've gotten a call in a while, though. But
while we're actually, I did just mention the crony capitalist benefits of being a president. I wanted to bring up too that Trump has he's donated. What was it? I had it in my notes here. He donated roughly $500,000 to Democrats over the years. So I'd imagine he's got a good amount of Democrats like in his pocket, or at least he used to. Doing favors back and forth for political donations. So there's of course the conspiracy theory that Trump is running for the Democrats because he's trying to split the Republican vote. And 'cause even in that comedy clip that you played during the last break, you had his wife mentioning, "Oh yeah, he used
Melania,
to be a Democrat."
Yeah, but he did that on both sides. And even like they love to bring up the Koch brothers, which I don't know how you get Koch out of how their name is spelled. It's like Koch. But anyway, because it's spelled like Koch, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they call him Koch because Koch sounds better. I'd rather be a Koch brother than a Koch brother. But anyway, what if they disagreed? No, it's Koch. No, it's Koch. But they're one of them ran for president, and they're supposedly libertarians.
Yeah.
But they give money to everybody. And most corporations, you'll see that they do. And the reason they do is because no matter who wins, they want to get favors, and you know what I mean? So it's hedging your bet is basically what it's doing. Mm-hmm. So most of them do that. And maybe that's what he was doing. But yeah, I mean, he hung out with all the, like I said, Hollywood guys. He was on a Method Man album. I wonder if I could get that up. Maybe during a break or something. I'll try to find it on YouTube, where he just said, "We've been waiting for your album. Come on, man." Something like that. But just the fact that he was on a Method Man album, Donald Trump,
so weird,
making a statement. So yeah, and he was on Howard Stern all the time. He talked about all these celebrities. So like I said, I think probably most of them have distanced themselves from him because of his political stances now, and a lot of them are a lot of Hollywood are liberals, but. I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to Howard Stern anymore because he kind of pissed me off. But so there's somebody, and I don't want to say the name, but I was going to bring up their page because they have a Bernie Sanders picture on Facebook, like where their what do you call it? Where
like profile
their profile picture is Bernie Sanders. And on it, they also have a picture of ISIS. And I thought this person, now, I don't really know them. They had befriended me because we had, I think, mutual friends. And they're posting the socialism is not communism, and it's all Bernie Sanders stuff recently. But they also post something like with the anarchist sign. So it's like there's a so let me read this real quick.
Sure. And
while it's on my mind because I just passed it, but even though we'll get back to Bernie Sanders later, but we can talk about him real quick. But if it says, if you are hungry, I will offer you food. If you're thirsty, I'll offer you water. If you're cold, warmth. If you are in need, ask and I will give. If you're in trouble, ask and I will help, blah, blah, blah. I do not do these things in hopes of being rewarded. I do not do these things out of fear of punishment. I do these things because I know them to be right. I set my own standards and I alone enforce them. I am an anarchist. And in the middle, there's the anarchist symbol. So that's where, and this is what you originally brought up when we were talking about what we're going to do the show on. And this is what I was kind of saying as well. I think earlier in the show that you have the leftist anarchists that are supporting Bernie Sanders. And I don't know how they're looking at it. It's funny. There's a picture of Hillary Clinton from a long time ago compared to now and how old she looks. But it's pretty bad. Her face is like falling off. But it's like when it comes to Bernie Sanders, the only thing, and I'd have to talk to the people specifically that support Bernie Sanders to really get their take on it, but it's like they're looking at it from what they ultimately want, but just know without government interference. They don't realize that it's all about government interference. So to support Bernie Sanders, it's more government. It's a lot more government, and it's more interference in your life. Now, again, maybe they're looking at it as, okay, we need to do this first. Let's let the government do it. And then eventually we get rid of the government and we already have the socialism in place, and then we run it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on
the problem with that is the government going away after our problems are solved, because you're not going to find enough people uncomfortable enough to actually work against the government, to abolish government programs and the government itself. If everyone's comfortable, nobody's going to do anything. So you can't deal with your discomfort first. They're doing it backwards, essentially.
Yeah, and that, of course, is not what I would want anyway, as far as a communist government either way, or socialist government, whether it was free of government or not, whether it was a bunch of people that got together, created their own socialist government, or not government, but their own socialist movement or settlement, I guess. I would not want that anyway, because I don't believe in that shit.
Yeah, I'd be totally fine with it as long as they allowed me to be left alone.
Yeah, like if they started their own and didn't bother me, then that's fine. And that's the whole thing about believing, in my opinion, and believing in true freedom and liberty, is you're really not deciding what people should do or what's best for people or any of that. You're really looking at it as everybody has the freedom to do what they want as long as they don't hurt anybody. Now, you can look at it from a personal standpoint and say, this is not for me, this is how I want to live. But I don't care how you live as long as you don't, affect me and, do anything to me to get in the way of what I'm doing. Basically meaning, harming you in any way or stealing from you or whatever. So that's really, to me, what it is anyway, is it's not judging what people want to do as long as they don't want to force you to do what they're doing. So if they had a socialist settlement and they didn't allow people to leave, then that's a problem to me, because people might want to leave. Now, if they said, okay, we're going to have a socialist town, whatever, and if you want to join us, you can join us. If you don't, you don't have to. And if you want to leave, you can leave at any time. The whole thing is, I don't think it would ever work, because I think it might work on a very small level with very dedicated people, but that's really the only way, because I think what would happen is you'd have a certain amount of people that would be doing all the work and a bunch of people that wouldn't be doing anything. but we can talk more about that when we get to Bernie Sanders. But unless you have any comments before we get back to Trump.
Let's get back to it.
Back to Trump?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to give you the opportunity to get your points in there. Okay, so I know you looked a lot at Trump's agenda, and I looked at that too. So do you want to start with that?
Sure.
Some of his crazy fucking. You want to start with the crazy stuff, and then.
We were talking about how he's changed over the years and how people in Hollywood might be distancing themselves from him. And I found there was an interesting change in his position in the war on drugs. In 1990, he actually said, this is a direct quote, "We're losing badly the war on drugs. You have to legalize drugs to win that war. You have to take the profit away from those drug czars." He said that in 1990. Today, he said that he opposes pot legalization. So what happened? He went the wrong way.
That's kind of crazy because he was kind of before his time there.
Right, in 90.
Not a lot of people, not a lot of big businessmen would say that back then.
Yeah.
And then for him to say that, I didn't hear anything he said on drugs. The only thing I heard was about heroin and how they need to get rid of that. So I assumed that he still believes in the drug war. And I know the other guy, the doctor there, he not only believes in the drug war, but he wants to ramp up the drug war.
Oh, yeah. Ben Carson wants to expand.
The guy who is falling asleep all the time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting kind of a flip. Like he went the wrong way. He was against popular opinion in the past, and now he's against popular opinion by going the opposite way.
Do you think he feels he has to do that to get the nomination?
Probably, yeah. That's probably a political move of his. Do I think that he's going to go the other way if elected and legalize all the drugs? No. You had Obama saying that he was gonna, go and do he didn't say directly that he was going to decriminalize marijuana, but he was hinting at it, oh yeah, I smoked pot and and then he didn't really do anything.
He's like, I smoked pot last night.
Yeah, probably token up in the White House, but he's not gonna.
That's why he was crying because he was fucking. This is some good shit, and his eyes were tearing up.
Oh. Yeah, so you have that. You've got the pot flip, which I thought was interesting. We were talking about, I think before the show, we were talking about how he's against gun control, but he thinks Republicans are too soft on gun regulations. So that's if the Republicans aren't putting up strict enough gun regulations for him, then he's not against gun control. Is what what's really happening.
Yeah,
he's saying he's against it, but he's doing it.
He had said that he would repeal whatever executive order Obama put out there, but that doesn't mean much.
He still wants to ban assault weapons, whatever that means tomorrow.
Right, which again, an assault weapon is not even a real thing. All it is they went and defined. It depends on what state, and it also depends on, the federal government, where they said, if it has this, this, and this, then we're going to call it an assault weapon. It's not even a real thing. It's a government. That's why I hate when people fucking use that. They use it on the news, and people that know better, will use it too. People in the guns will talk about, assault weapons and whatever, and really the word comes from the government itself. There's no such thing as an assault weapon.
Yeah,
it's a rifle. It's a semi-automatic rifle. Or
you're not going to go to the gun shop and be like, hey, can I get an assault weapon?
Right.
Yeah. So that's pot, gun control. When we come to immigration, of course, it's totally ugly for Donald Trump. He wants to build the wall. He's always talking about the wall.
Well, he got see, this is where I can't take this fucking guy seriously as a person. Now, first I want to say, and I think you agree with me on this as well, is that I don't believe in rulers, and I'm not voting for anybody because I'm not going to contribute to votes for rulers. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with people that vote. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, if you vote, you're like, I heard this guy that was saying, if you vote, you're contributing to the whole system and blah, 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 and all this shit. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, man. If you want to vote, that's fine. I don't fucking give a fuck. Your vote really is meaningless, especially for president when you have 300 million people in the country, maybe 100 and something million will vote. Your vote doesn't mean anything. Plus, it's rigged anyway. But just from just looking at this guy, I can't take him seriously. I mean, he seemed nuts. So he talks about his wall. That's where you have. That's when the only time he smiles and jokes, when it's something about him and how great he is. Then he'll smile a little, and then he sounds somewhat human. So he talks about this great big wall, and he even compared it to the Great Wall of China. And what was the Great Wall of China there for? Well, it was there because it was a communist country to help keep people in, from what I understood. I know the wall in East Germany was. And that's where I did a whole comparison. What was it, last week or, I don't know, a recent show on the U.S. and East Germany. Because I think that's kind of where the U.S. is to me at this, not only where it's going, but I think where it is already. And I know people can argue with me and whatever, and there's certain things that, yes, the U.S. is not doing that East Germany did. Part of that, I think, was because they had a smaller population and it was easier for them to do, and it was a different time. But they're still building the infrastructure, and as soon as they get that down, I mean, you look at all the spying and all the fusion centers and all this shit that they're putting together, that's going to be their infrastructure to locally go after people if you're speaking out against the government. And there's been people that have spoke out against the government on Facebook or on this or on that, and have gone to jail or have been arrested. So let's not, kid ourselves like, okay, in East Germany, some of the people just would get shot. So in certain circumstances, it's not as bad. Although, look at the whistleblowers, look at the press, how they've been under attack. So it's not exactly like East Germany, but it's similar. But what did East Germany had? Well, it had a big fucking wall. So I look at a wall as a way of keeping people in, not keeping people out.
Any wall strong enough to keep people out is strong enough to keep people in. It just makes sense.
Yeah, and that's...
And they're already restricting air travel at the federal level just this year. If I think it's a few different states have fought like the federal ID laws. New Hampshire is one of them. And so I would need to go and get a passport in order to fly out of the state to another state, not even out of the country.
Yeah, that's ridiculous too. It started
being restricted.
Yeah, it started as the real ID law. I mean, this has been going on for a while now because so many states, even Nevada at one point was one of the states trying to fight it. They were fighting it for years. I mean, because this goes back to like 2005. So yeah, there's a couple states that I think it's this year, right? If you don't have,
it started this year.
See, I don't think I have the new license yet, though, because my license I got it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know
if there's any grace period for people who haven't renewed yet. Yeah.
Well, what I mean is I don't know if I have the license that's acceptable to the stupid fucking TSA. And honestly, I don't care because I'm trying to boycott flying anyway. The only way I'll fly if they make me for work, which I was supposed to go somewhere and then I didn't end up going. But I will if I really have to for work. But besides that, the other thing they're doing, speaking of airports, is now you can't have a pat down. You have to go through that machine.
Oh, yeah.
And what's fucked up is there's been studies, and I think it's been banned in Europe, that basically if you're a traveler who travels like all the time, say you travel a couple times a month or more, that it does affect you and it can cause cancer. And as long as, if you travel like once a year or something, you'll probably be fine, or a couple times a year. But if you're somebody who travels all the time, it is going to affect you. So you have so many contradictions within the government because you have cancer is the number one cause of death. There's like 500,000 people, depending on the year, that die from cancer. Of course, how many people die from guns? It's like around 18,000, between like 20 and 15, something like that, depending on the year. The last year I saw was like 18,000. So 500,000 and 18,000. I mean, the percentage of it's not even in the top 10, and that's not counting suicides. But really, can you count suicides? I don't think so. So suicides isn't gun violence against another person. So for them to, it's just like they do where they'll say, well, 124 cops died in the line of duty. Yeah, but 42 of them were actually killed by somebody, which is actually went down from last year. But there's a war on cops, even though the amount of cops, it's insane shit. So speaking of insane people, so Trump wants to build this fucking wall. Yeah. He wants to increase security in general. So he was one of these guys too, that he wants to ramp up security. I didn't hear him say anything about the NSA. I don't know if you did or what you heard regarding security.
I didn't hear any position on NSA.
But did you see anything about security?
Just the wall in general, and then of course his crazy statement. And I think we talked about this on a previous show, that he wants to ban Muslims from entering the United States. Yeah, that and I have that actually a little further down, but we can talk about that. Yeah, that the fear of so he said they are sick people. He wants to I heard that he wanted to create a list at some point of Muslims. He wants to ban Muslims from coming to the US. And he has been using fear tactics as well. So he's skewing statistics. I mean, the chance of you getting... See, this is why I think something like San Bernardino, why to me it's common sense that it's possible that the government would do these things on their own, or not on their own, but, get the FBI to be involved. That I definitely think was one of those things that the FBI was involved. I just read an article a couple days ago about how I think a guy or a kid with an IQ of like 50 or 60, borderline retarded, got sucked into one of those terror plots. And then they charged him with terrorism. That's what the FBI does. Like they set, how they set the people up. And they find people on the internet talking about jihad or and they always
I love ISIS or
they target really dumb people.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. His IQ was like 60.
Oh man!
So I think the parents are trying to sue because he's young. He's not young, like under 18, but I think he's like 19 or 20 or something. So that's almost what I think with what happened, that it was similar, and it may have been the people that did it may have been more aggressive, but it just doesn't surprise me, because look at all the stuff that comes out of it, is it gives them another example to use, because they don't really have any examples. They keep using France too. And France is a country, 5,000 miles away. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to use France to talk about terrorism and, we got to be safe because look what happened in France? I mean, what the fuck is that? That's like in a mall. There was a thing in like Somalia or one of those African countries where a mall got hijacked and they took over a mall. And then they're like, we got to be careful about malls now. It's like, what the fuck does what happens in Africa?
It's apples and oranges.
Right. And they had mentioned malls in something where they're talking about high value targets, and they mentioned malls, right? And what has happened at malls? You had one incident of one guy killing himself at the mall. Before he killed himself, he fired up in the air a couple times. That was it. And then you had someone who went to the mall who targeted a specific person and killed them. And they're using this like where it happens thing too.
Yeah.
It's like if you kill somebody, if you go to their house to kill them, then it's different than if you go to a public place.
If somebody in Bangladesh kills somebody at the bottom of a well, suddenly we're going to have bottom of the well crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even with if somebody has a grudge against somebody and they go to their place of business to kill them instead of going to their house, it's a totally different thing.
Right.
If they would have went to their house, it's like, somebody got killed at their house. But if they do it at the mall or do it at, wherever they work at, then it's an act of terrorism or something. It's insane. But he obviously is skewing it with nothing. There are so many people that are afraid of ISIS now. And he was talking about that too, that all these Americans are afraid of being attacked by ISIS. Like, what planet are you living on? Because even if you want to take what happened in San Bernardino as an attack, because that's what he mentioned too, he's going to bomb ISIS and attack ISIS, and even if he needs ground troops. Yeah, it's crazy. So even if you want to count that, which the guy was not a member of ISIS, he was born here. The wife wasn't. I know he worked for the government too. I guess they just reopened too. I think yesterday or today or something. But even if you want to count that, okay, so that's one. And then what? Even if you want to count the ones that I think were all fake, I mean, I think they all happened, but I think they were, the government was involved. Definitely the Boston bombing, because I followed that very closely. I think the government was involved. But so 3 terrorist attacks in 15 years. So that, people should be scared of terrorist attacks now. And now they want to, of course, bring up the lone wolf, the anti-government crazy people. You have those as well. So yeah, he wants to go after ISIS and bomb the hell out of them and their families and build the wall, increase security, build up the military even more, even though I don't know how, like 60% of discretionary spending is spent on the military. There's like between 800 and 1,000 bases. And this is not just in the U.S. This is like across the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why these countries, I think a lot of it's, fear. Some of it is, well, you guys can protect us. Some of it, I think, is fear to say no. And who knows? But they have bases all over the fucking world. And it's just, not only is it a waste of money, it's what is the point?
It's threatening, too, to throw military bases around like that, to have them all over the world. It is very threatening.
Yeah, no doubt. But what is the point? And if you go back, and I don't believe in the Constitution, not because I don't believe in freedom, because obviously I do, because the Constitution didn't protect anyone's freedom or anyone's liberty. It was just a fucking piece of paper. But even if you go back to the Constitution, it said nothing about a standing army, probably because they knew that when you have a standing army, what happens? You find things for them to do, like attack other countries. The only thing that should be happening is the U.S. should be getting protected. I see the point when it comes to certain things, but to me, it's not enough. Like, I see, okay, if one country just attacks another, but I still don't think it's enough for the U.S. to have a standing. I mean, if they have a standing army, then I guess, but I don't think they should have a standing army. And then they can say, "Sorry, we can't help you. We don't have a fucking standing army. We just have some drones. We'll help you with our drones, and that's about it." And especially now that they have the technology, now it's just get rid of the fucking military altogether. That's not going to happen. But
you'd think they'd be rushing to have the entire thing mechanized. I guess they're not there yet. But you think they'd have just robot troops and robot this and that.
But what scenarios though would you even need an army except to protect the country? And then that is where you have militias, you have people that are armed that protect the country. I don't see any need for not only an army, but military bases all over the fucking world. I mean, this is it's insane. It's so fucked up because the more you get into things, there's just so many fucked up things. It's like, where do you even start? And then, what's the most important and how fucked up is this compared to that? And if you were listing what are the worst things, and there's just so many things that are out of control, and not just a little bit, that are totally out of control. The whole country, as far as I'm concerned, at least the government, is totally out of fucking control. And having any of these people come in is not going to do anything except make things worse, because basically what's going to happen is whatever the agenda is of the powers that be, and again, you can call them the corporations, the lobbyists, whatever, the Illuminati or look at this though. The Council on Foreign Relations, I mentioned them before, but Hillary went and presented some plan, I think her tax plan, to the Council on Foreign Relations. Why? This group has nothing to do with the government. They just pick who they want to be in their little group. It's like if we started a club and to talk about, political shit or freedom or whatever, and they're not going to show up, of course, but it's because of the people that are in it. But what business do they have being involved in any of this shit? and they probably get information that the average, the public doesn't get. Same with, the Trilateral Commission. It's the same type thing. And the Bilderberg Group and all of them. I mean, they're the same concept. And a lot of shit that the Bilderberg Group does is illegal because you're not supposed to have government officials meeting with the public like that, or non-government officials. I forget the exact structure of the law,
lobbyists, right?
Well, it's something, I forget exactly how the law is structured, but the way they're just meeting with regular people and the way they're doing it secretively is technically illegal, according to, there's some law on the books that technically makes it illegal. So that's why they have to hide that they're there. Because if it's just a bunch of people talking about it, it's fine. But like, if the president shows up, like, it's illegal. There's a specific reason why that I forget, but I know it has something to do with the fact that, discussing certain things with regular people secretly, like, I think it might be with foreign leaders secretly and with the public and some shit like that, but essentially that's illegal, and they all go there, they just hide it. But anyway, so yeah, Trump has gone back and forth on a lot of things.
Yeah, I had one last issue for Trump, which was he said that he would slap a 35% tax on automobiles.
I thought you were gonna say slap a bitch.
He would slap a bitch. No, he would slap a 35% tax on automobiles produced at a Ford plant in Mexico.
Because they're made in Mexico.
Yes, as like a tax retaliation for this great economic treason. For not,
I heard him bring that up, that the plant was moved to Mexico, but I didn't hear the... he brought that up in most of his meetings. He also brought... I mean, most of the shit that I've brought up, he brought up in every single rally. But he brought up Iran and how... they're getting $150 billion or something. I didn't hear that, but okay. And that it's a fucked up deal and all of this shit and how bad it is.
Yeah, so the whole Made in America thing is such a huge prevalent economic fallacy.
Even though
actually
Trump has his resorts like everywhere, and probably other people worked on them. He didn't bring like an American crew.
Yeah, like the whole Made in America thing is actually dispelled pretty nicely in Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson, which if you haven't read that yet, you definitely that's a really good one. It's interesting. I hear Sanders, people calling Sanders completely economic illiterate, but not Trump. Not Trump as much because he's the businessman. Of course he does.
Well, they call him on foreign policy too, Sanders, that he doesn't know anything about foreign policy or whatever.
Yeah,
supposedly.
but it really
what does Trump
really
know
goes
about
both
fucking
ways.
foreign policy?
Yeah, they're both pretty illiterate on both issues, I would say.
So there's a couple more things I wanted to go through on Trump and just chime in if you have any comments on that. But I want to go through this fast so we can get to Sanders. So he said, of course, as I mentioned, wants to amp up the security state. Immigration is his big thing, which is also the wall. So it's terrorism and immigration, I think, are his two biggest things.
Right, because immigrants are terrorists in his eyes.
Right. And you need that wall to stop them. He says he's going to decrease taxes, but a lot of people have said that. He mentioned that the police are being mistreated terribly, and he wants to take care of the police. He mentioned the Second Amendment, as we talked about. in New Hampshire, I mentioned how it sounded like he kind of alluded to the Free State Project, but I could have just been misinterpreting. He could have been talking about something else. I don't know. Of course, like we said, with immigration, wants to go after immigrants and stop illegal immigration. But legal immigration, that's great, even though they make it like impossible to come into the country legally. That's why I hate when people talk about legal immigration. They're like, well, we came legally and illegally. Yeah, because you came from somewhere where they let you in pretty quickly and you didn't have to wait like 5 years on a fucking list. So that whole, it's just bullshit. He wants to amp up the security state. We kind of talked about that. Get rid of Obamacare and replace, so he says. So he
wants to put in his own system, though.
Yeah,
he doesn't,
Trump Care. I'm sure he'll want to call it Trump Care because he wanted to call the wall. He was like, he made like a joke like, well, if they start calling it the Trump wall after a little while, that'd be good, you know. And of course, the Trump stuff has to be beautiful. And he literally said all that shit. Ban Muslims. We talked about that from coming to the U.S. Create the list.
Which is essentially a new Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's like what Hitler did with Jews. So then what are you going to do? You're going to kill them? And then he has this big slogan, the Make America Great. So I guess America used to be great, and Trump's going to improve it and make it great again. What was great that is not? I'd like to hear that. You know, all these people that say, well, America's fucked up. And yeah, it is. But it's been fucked up to me forever. But at what point for them? What?
We just need to restore the republic.
Right. And follow the Constitution. And what else did people tell me? We need to educate the voters. And then he kept talking about the Iran deal in every speech. He's obsessed with the Iran deal. You know what else happened? And I think this was every speech. The crowd starts chanting. This is how I know how fucking ignorant they are. They start chanting, USA, USA. You know, the next time I actually hear somebody do that and I'm there, I'm going to punch them in the face. I shouldn't do that, but I kind of want to.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Of course, anything can be chanted. If it's 3 syllables like that, you can get a crowd going with pretty much anything.
Stupid.
It catches men like wildfire. Like in that one, there's a TV show where somebody started chanting shrimp fried rice, and everyone else started doing shrimp fried rice. That was pretty funny. It's catchy though.
Change it to USP. Oh, what would that be? Oh, I was thinking United Postal Service, but no, that's not it.
UPS. Not as fun.
He's also saying that Iran's going to attack Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and he wants to protect the Saudi Arabia against Iran. Like, okay, yeah, that's not about like the petrodollar and the
Definitely
reserve
keep
currency.
Meddling, yeah.
And all that.
All countries Obama has bombed, by the way.
And I haven't heard anything about Iran wanting to attack. I know they're different. What do you call it? The sex, SECT. I always have to say that because it sounds like I said sex, SEX, but no. But I haven't heard anything about that. And of course, the U.S. gives them plenty of money anyway. So I don't think that's a something that's going to happen. And of course, the drugs. He's going to stop heroin from getting into mass in New Hampshire. Good luck with that one. And he said he'd be back. He's like, I'm not going to be one of those guys who just forgets about New Hampshire because it's a small little state. I'll be back. So you'll be seeing him again, I guess.
Yeah.
He'll be visiting.
You know, when he alluded to what you thought were free staters, he was probably alluding to the massive crowd of anti-Trump ralliers who showed up to protest his appearance.
Yeah.
There's a Facebook page called Dump Trump, which was started by a free stater down here. It's actually the same guy
started
who
by his
did-
wife.
it's the same guy who did free Uber, that whole thing. He's trying to organize some people in this dump Trump campaign, which I think is pretty funny. And yeah, they had a lot of fun. I saw a lot of videos coming out of that too. You could probably find some good videos off the dump Trump Facebook page.
So that's pretty much I have for Trump. You know, in conclusion, I think, you know, I don't know, because again, I know how things are rigged and whatnot. So I think that it doesn't really matter if it's going to be Hillary who's going to be the winner, then maybe Trump might get the nomination. It's possible. I think he's a joke, but it all depends on, like I said, and I really believe this, them narrowing it down, and it depends on, you know, who they want to put their money in, because who they want to ultimately win. And maybe at this point, they don't know. Maybe it's going to be an establishment Republican, and it's still early. So just because he has this big lead, you know, the media could do anything to destroy somebody. You know, things could come out, and all that has to come out is like, we found child porn on your computer. And, you know,
just one little thing.
Yeah. I mean, look what happened with Ross Perot, and no one really knows what really happened there, where he was leading when he left the first time, and then he came back. And he had said something about his daughter's wedding, but who knows what they had done. And I remember at the time I was in high school, and I supported Ross Perot because same thing. It's sick of the same shit. And this was 20 fucking years ago. I was sick of the same shit still, because it's the same shit. People keep saying, this is what you'll always hear, and you probably hear it all the time too. Well, we just need to get the right people in there. And like you said, we just need to restore the republic. We need to follow the Constitution. As long as we get the right people have been saying that for like 30, 40 years.
Yeah, vote the bums out.
People have been saying that probably since I was born. I mean, and what happens? Nothing. So that's why, to me, the only solution is non-compliance. And non-compliance backed by self-defense, because I don't think, you know, I really think that's where things have gone. And I'm not talking about a war or anything like that against the government. I'm just talking about an incidences, defending yourself, because if everybody defended themselves when they were in situations where their rights were being violated, and I mean physically defending themselves, that would end. This whole bullshit that certain people say that, oh, well, violence isn't going to do anything. Well, to me, when it's self-defense, it's not violence. I'm not talking about going after anybody or hurting anybody. And, you know, it could just be a standoff anyway. But this whole thing of non-compliance, but I'm going to comply to go to jail, what does that do? I mean, I don't, unless a paper picks it up and people hear about it. But even then, you know, it seems like, okay,
yes,
another
civil
story.
Disobedience.
Yeah, so that's why I don't
tough.
believe in civil disobedience, because civil disobedience, that's essentially what it
You
is.
get really lucky for that to actually work. Like, if you're living in a place where a jury of your peers will nullify whatever law it is you're fighting against, then that's a good.
But either way, you go out and you go through getting arrested. You have to sit in jail, get bailed out, so you lose no matter what. So what I'm saying is that really what has to happen at some point, and who am I to say anything? I just registered my car, which I shouldn't, but if they get to the point where they're going to put those things on to track your mileage and GPS, then I have to draw a line. And I did a show on that, drawing a line. But I think really this is my what I really think would be the best approach, and people can do whatever they want, and I don't fault them for it. And in a way, I'm not even doing this because I'd be doing it myself, and I'd probably just get killed. But would be non-compliance, meaning all these laws that don't have anything to do with hurting anybody else. If someone tries to arrest you for it or physically attack you, you have the right to defend yourself. And I guarantee you that if a lot of people started to do that, the police would question whether they're going to arrest people for certain things. I guarantee you that would happen. Now, you have people that would say, well, that wouldn't do anything. It's violence. It might not be violence, though. It might be a standoff. But it's self-defense. And that's the only thing I support. I don't support going out and hurting anybody. And best case scenario, nobody gets hurt and people just back off, because I do value life, and that's the whole thing. And I don't want anybody to get hurt. But I don't care what anybody says. If that happened and, thousands of people started doing that, it will make a fucking difference. Now, it's not the same thing as taking over the government. I think that's ridiculous and stupid, because then then go to what? The same thing. Plus, I don't think that's the solution. I think it's hearts and minds and getting people to believe in freedom. Because if not, then somebody else is going to want to overtake things anyway. So really, and I started a page, and I think people are afraid to like it because it's like non-compliance via self-defense or something. Because really, it's civil disobedience. And here's the difference between non-compliance. I look at non-compliance as you don't comply and you defend yourself. I look at civil disobedience as you don't obey the law, but then you say, here, arrest me. Like, I don't know. So
it's a very risky game to play. Rich Paul points out that civil disobedience only works successfully if it's like poking a bear with a stick. And of course, the demonstration only works successfully if the person who pokes the bear is mauled, which I love that kind of metaphor for civil disobedience. Is you're playing a very dangerous game going into it. And he played that game. He wanted people to nullify pot laws, and he lost, and he ended up in jail for a while.
Yeah, no, I know all about that. I had him on the show, actually. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is with non-compliance, if you have enough people that are ready to not comply with you and are ready to defend themselves, then, I mean, that's what I think, in my opinion, is the solution of things, where you can't keep fighting against somebody who is using things that, or tools that you're not, where they're gonna use violence, they're gonna attack you, and then you can't defend yourself. You're just supposed to go to jail. So that's a whole nother show, which I've done before, but that's why, I think most people will admit you're not going to get things done through the system. So how do you get things done? I think non-compliance is immediate because it's right there. Hey, I don't do this anymore. Now, you got to look at the consequences are if somebody comes after you for it. And that's where, to me, self-defense kicks in. If somebody comes to the point where they're going to physically harm you, you have the right to defend yourself against them, whether they're a government official or not. Now, hopefully, that's not what happens, but to me, that's That's really, I think, the only way to change things. I think with non-compliance and self-defense, and then at the same time, work on getting the truth out there about the government and what's going on and all these things and hearts and minds and all of that at the same time. Because if you can get a certain amount of people to join you, then you won't need to defend yourself, because
the larger the crowd you get, the more the government seems to behave.
Right, exactly. So that's why you won't need to defend yourself.
And the more armed you are as well.
Right. Well, I mean, same thing. I mean, like I said, the Bundy Ranch is a perfect example. And that's kind of the mentality I subscribe to is, don't comply and arm yourself, but, stay, calm and stay, don't just start shooting at people. Only if you're attacked, then defend yourself. Besides that, don't do anything. Don't attack people.
When I say armed too, I mean, guns or cameras. I think one of the only reasons we haven't heard about the Oregon massacre yet is because there have been live streams coming out of that whole event that people have been watching. People have been able to view it as it happens. And I think that's a great boon to the cause.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a plus as well. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk all about Mr. Bernie Sanders. I'm going to try to do my impression, but I can't do it right now. I talk like I'm kind of retarded. I don't know. I can't do that shit. So we are here with Shire Dude, live from New Hampshire, or at least he is. Check him out at shiredude.com. And I am here in Las Vegas. Check out the website, nonpartisanliberty.com. And we'll be back right after this. And, of course, if you want to call in, 702-470-7664, 702-470-7664. Skype, Nonpartisan Liberty for all one word. And we are talking about Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, two of the more eccentric people running for president. So we'll be right back after this.
So, just to sum up, I would do various things very quickly. I would repeal and replace the big lie Obamacare. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump. Nobody. I will find within our military, I will find the General Patton, or I will find General MacArthur. I will find the right guy. I will find the guy that's going to take that military and make it really work. Nobody will be pushing us around. I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and we won't be using a man like Secretary Kerry that has absolutely no concept of negotiation, who's making a horrible and laughable deal, who's just being tapped along as they make weapons right now, and then goes into a bicycle race at 72 years old and falls and breaks his leg. I won't be doing that. And I promise I will never be in a bicycle race. That I can tell you. I will immediately terminate President Obama's illegal executive order on immigration. Immediately. Fully support and back up the Second Amendment.
Thanks for joining me, and Happy New Year to you, Senator. As a United States Senator, are you okay with the president acting alone, bypassing Congress on guns?
Dana, I would prefer that we could have bipartisan support, but the truth is the Republicans are not interested in doing anything about gun safety. I think the vast majority of the American people are horrified by the mass shootings that we have seen. They want action. Overwhelming consensus understands that people who are criminals, people who have mental issues, should not be owning guns or buying guns. And what the president is trying to do now is to expand the instant background check by closing the gun show loophole, and I think he is doing what the American people would like him to do.
Now, you are a senator from Vermont. As you well know, there is a lot of support for gun rights where you're from. Do you think your constituents will object to you supporting these expanded background checks, especially done without Congress?
Well, look, gun safety issues are very, very controversial. We are a divided nation. But I think most gun owners in this country understand that people who should not own guns should not be able to buy them. And we do need to expand the instant background check. I don't think that's an onerous burden on anybody. And by the way, from what I have seen, the vast majority of the American people agree with that sentiment. Obviously, bipartisan activity in the Congress would be preferable, but we're not seeing the Republicans doing anything on this issue. And I think the president is doing what the American people would like him to do.
Okay, let's talk a little politics. You have been going after the working class supporters of Donald Trump. For people who scratch their heads and say, wait a minute, how can liberal Bernie Sanders possibly attract Trump voters who tend to be quite conservative? What's your answer?
Well, in my last election, re-election effort in the state of Vermont, we won about 25% of the Republican vote. And working class Republicans are also seeing their wages going down. They're seeing almost all new income and wealth going to the top 1%. They can't afford to send their kids to college. They're seeing their jobs going to China. And I think they want a president who has the courage to stand up to the billionaire class, to raise the minimum wage, to make public colleges and universities tuition-free, and by the way, to address a corrupt campaign finance system where millionaires and billionaires and corporations are now spending unlimited sums of money to buy elections. That's a pretty across-the-board sentiment. The American people want change, and I believe that I am a vehicle of change, being prepared to stand up to the wealthy and the powerful and create an economy that works for all Americans.
Now, of course, you differ vastly on how to address that change and help working class people. One of your signature proposals is Medicare for all. You said recently you'd only support one new tax on the middle class to fund paid family leave. But how are you going to pay for this massive new health care plan without taxing the middle class except for that narrow tax?
Well, first of all, you can do it. We have massive income and wealth inequality. In the last 30 years, trillions of dollars have flown from the hands of working families to the top 1/10 of 1%. You have major corporations in America making billions of dollars a year in profit who in a given year pay nothing in federal income taxes. So I believe in progressive taxation, asking the large corporations and the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. In terms of guaranteeing health care to all Americans through a Medicare for all single-payer program, the truth is we will save the average middle-class family thousands of dollars a year in health care costs because today, by far, we are the most expensive health care system in the world. We pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. So my proposal will cut health care costs for the middle class by thousands of dollars a year.
Okay, but Senator, your health care proposal, the Wall Street Journal estimates, would cost $15 trillion over 10 years. You really can pay for that without raising taxes on the middle class? It just seems hard to
Well, what we can do, there are a variety of ways to go forward, Nana. But at the bottom line, what the Wall Street Journal forgot to tell the American people in that article is people will not have to pay private health insurance, and the cost of prescription drugs are going down. At the end of the day, we pay, not even close, we pay almost 3 times more per capita on health care than the British, 50% more than the French, much more than the Canadians. Our proposal will save the average middle-class family thousands of dollars a year in health care, lower prescription drug costs.
Okay, but it sounds like you're not ruling out a tax to get there. Let's talk about the tax plan. We haven't seen it yet. We are pretty close, 29 days till voting in Iowa. Do Iowa voters and voters in New Hampshire and elsewhere deserve to see your full tax plan before they vote?
Well, they sure do, and they will, but that's not a kind of a fast statement, Dana. We have issued a number of tax plans. For example,
right. I said full tax
what
plan.
we have said. Well, what we have said is that in the year 2016, public colleges and universities should be tuition-free, and we should lower interest rates on student debt, and we do that by a tax on Wall Street speculation. That's a plan. What we have also said is that unlike the Republicans who want to cut Social Security, I want to expand Social Security, and we do that by lifting the cap on taxable income for people earning above $250,000 a year. That's a tax plan. What I have said is that I want to rebuild America's crumbling infrastructure, create up to 13 million jobs, rebuilding our roads and bridges, and we do that by doing away with the ability of corporations to stash their money in tax havens like the Cayman Islands and in Bermuda. That's a tax plan. So we have been very specific. We have more to do, and we will be doing that in the very near future.
Before the Iowa caucuses?
Yes.
Okay. Donald Trump says that Bill Clinton's sexual history is fair game. Do you agree?
I think that Donald Trump might want to concern himself with the fact that he is dead wrong when he says we should not raise the minimum wage. He's dead wrong when he says that wages in America are too high. He's dead wrong when he thinks we should give huge tax breaks to billionaires like himself. And he's dead wrong when he thinks that climate change is a hoax when virtually the entire scientific community thinks it's the great environmental crisis that we face. Maybe Trump should worry about those issues rather than Bill Clinton's sex life.
Only Bernie Sanders can segue from Bill Clinton's sex life to climate change. That was impressive. But what is the answer to the question? Is it fair game or not?
No, I think we got more important things to worry about in this country than Bill Clinton's sex life.
We'll have to end it there. Thank you very much, Senator Sanders. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the campaign trail.
Good evening, and welcome to the first Democratic debate of the 2016 campaign. I'm your moderator, Anderson Cooper, and I hope I do you proud tonight, Kathy Griffin. Let's meet the candidates. First up, former governor of Maryland, Martin O'Malley.
Hello, I'm Martin O'Malley. This is what my voice sounds like. This is what my face looks like. When I was mayor of Baltimore, I did such a good job, they made 2 TV shows about my city, Homicide and The Wire.
Former Rhode Island governor, Lincoln Chafee.
Hey everyone, I'm Lincoln Chafee. I used to be senator. That was fun. And now I'm here. This is fun too.
Former U.S. Senator Jim Webb.
Hello, I'm Jim Webb, and it's about damn time I get to talk. What has it been, 1,000 years? Here's the deal. I fought in Vietnam, and I'm not going to brag about how much ass I kicked, but let's just say I kicked every single ass.
And now that we've met those people, let's bring out the real candidates. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Thank you for having me. I think you're really going to like the Hillary Clinton that my team and I have created for this debate. She's warm but strong, flawed yet perfect, relaxed but racing full speed toward the White House like the T-1000 from Terminator.
And from the state of Vermont, Senator Bernie Sanders. Hello.
Enough with the hellos.
goes. Let's do this.
Senator Sanders, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hungry, but I'm good. And now, if you don't mind, I'm going to dial it right up to a 10.
Go right ahead.
We're doomed. We need a revolution. Millions of people on the streets. And we got to do something. And we got to do it now.
Bernie, pace yourself. Now, before we begin, we at CNN want to say a quick word to Vice President Joe Biden. Joe, if you decide to run at any time tonight, we will happily make room for you on the stage. No pressure, but we'd love to have you. Wouldn't we, candidates? Okay. Let's get started. This first question is for everyone. Senator Sanders, some of your opponents believe regulating Wall Street is enough. What is your position on the big banks?
Not a fan of the banks. They trample on the middle class. They control Washington. And why do they chain all their pens to the desks? Who's trying to steal a pen from a bank? Makes no sense. That's why you gotta break up the banks into little pieces and then flush the pieces down the toilet so you can never put the banks back together. Then you just make the bankers pay for college for everyone, and America's fixed. Hey!
Do it! Just do it! Just do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it!
ShireDude.com.
And we are back, nonpartisan liberty for all, and I am here with Shire Dude. I'm getting I shouldn't check my Facebook while I'm on the air because now I'm getting messages based on my post that Obama's only increasing background checks. Well, actually, one, he doesn't have the right to do that. Two, meaning that the president can't just pass laws. Two, he's taking out due process. If you're on the no-fly list, you can't get a gun. So they can add anybody that they want. Ted Kennedy was on it for like 6 months. He had to get his name off. It was a mistake, but it still took him 6 months to get his name off. And as far as I'm concerned, self-defense is a basic human right. I think maybe this person got offended because I said it's a human rights violation. Yeah, it is. So and I don't know if this person is a liberal or not, but probably I would suspect. But just because the people that call all these other things human rights, think that they have a monopoly on the word human rights. I'm a human, and we're all humans, and there's certain rights that we have that have nothing to do with the government, and that's to choose what's put in our body, to choose what to possess, to choose to defend ourselves. There's a bunch of human rights that we have, and the right to health care and all of these free things are not human rights. I'm sorry. They're actually forcing other people to do things when they shouldn't be. And that's really what Bernie Sanders wants to do. If you look at a lot of his main stuff is, or his main idea is that he thinks that the rich are too rich and the poor don't have enough money, and the rich should give money to the poor, essentially, and that people have the right to an education. They have the right to
To other people's stuff, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, they have the right to health care. So, because when you look at this, right, if you say you have the right to health care, the health care is a freedom. This is what they try to do, these fucking socialists and social justice warriors, or even though I hate that word, that they try to twist it around and play the negative rights game. Like, you have a right to eat. And actually, you know, or to have food, and unless you're like a baby, you don't actually have the right to have food. You don't have the right to an education. You don't have the right to health care, because what is that right? So what you're saying is people have to do something for you, and you have the right to make people do something for you. They're called negative rights. And what Bernie Sanders wants to do, although people don't recognize this, is that every law is backed up by force. So whether it's more taxes, whether it's health care, whether it's free college, free whatever, you're forcing people, one, to do things, but you're also creating more laws, which creates more enforcement, which creates more police and more of a police state. I don't know what your thoughts on Bernie Sanders and his whole plan there are. But
yeah, you know, it bothers me that so many of his supporters are saying, well, we're not socialists, we're democratic socialists.
Yeah, they
like,
think that makes a
meaningful difference. Yeah.
Well, because they say that, and sorry to interrupt, they say that, like, they're not like, because you look at all the communist and socialist countries and, but we're different. They think they're different, that it's not going to go to that.
Work, guys. We're special, you know. Yeah, we're doing it the right way. Like it hasn't been tried, 100 times before.
So I know, like, everybody else wanted to do it the wrong way. They wanted to do it in a way that hurt people and didn't give people all these things. Because what's going to happen, and the other thing too is that, first of all, you're not going to have the exact same society, because you're going to have a bunch of businesses that are going to leave. You're going to have the amount of money that he's saying he's going to have to pay for this, he's not going to have. So he's going to be taking money from middle class to basically redistribute it, because all the billionaires are going to be gone. And he even said, so if you take your money and put it offshore, that you're bad because you're not paying taxes on it, because you're not allowing yourself to be extorted, that you're a bad person. So you should keep your money in a place where it's taxable, so the government can tax it.
It's the same as Trump. Trump's saying, "Oh, you can't take your business elsewhere down to Mexico." It's the same thing. Sanders wants to keep the businesses here so he can tax them.
Right. And what will happen is a lot of them will leave. He wants to give away free college. He wants to spend more money on schools and pre-K, of course, so more government brainwashing before you're even 5 years old. Redistribute the wealth to the poorest. So what's that going to do? Well, that's going to eliminate jobs, of course. I don't know no offense to poor people, I don't know any poor people that create jobs. He wants to expand Social Security. he's saying now he's anti-gun, even though before he kind of voted, supposedly he voted differently.
Kind of weird.
I don't know.
Vermont senator being anti-gun.
Yeah,
that's strange to me. I'd have to look that up because I didn't really look at his gun record.
I don't know about his voting, but he says now he's anti-gun, that he supports the president. I mean, I don't know if you just heard that clip where he was saying that he supports the president doing the executive order, and the reason why he supports it is he says, hey, this is scary in what he said, because what he's saying is, hey, all the American people want this, but, Congress won't do it, so the president's just going to do it on his own. So, I mean, how can you just say, well, we've decided that everyone wants this, and the president can't get them to do it, so he's just going to do it on its own? I mean, if you have a government, not that I believe in the structure of the government, but that is Congress makes the laws, and if you can't get Congress to do something, then you can't do anything about it. The way they make it sound, too, it's like, oh, we have this emergency and Congress won't act, so we need to act.
Yeah.
So why can't I do that too? Oh, I have emergencies. You guys won't act on it. So, police are killing people and you guys won't act on it. So I guess I'll have to act on it myself. I mean, what the fuck kind of logic is that? So essentially, and the way they say it's different is exactly what you said. It's democratic socialism. So essentially, they're saying that, well, we get to vote for the people, and then they apply socialism, I guess. I don't know, but so was everybody else. I mean, not all these socialist and communist countries were dictators. Hitler was voted in. And they were a little different, but the National Socialists. But I'm not saying it would come to a point where people would be getting killed, as many people as some of these communist dictators or anything like that. But I am saying that there would be a lot more police and a lot more force, because you'd be forcing all of these laws. Any law, whether it's a criminal law or not, is backed by force. Because if you don't follow it, eventually that's where it's going to lead.
Yep. Yeah, every law is just essentially a gun in the room, Any little laws that can be broken is... what are they going to do if somebody breaks it? And then if they defend themselves, against being put in a cage.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. It's, so what I got from him, at least from today, and I have a whole bunch about democratic socialism, was, like I said, spend more on schools, redistribute wealth to the poorest, expand Social Security, the anti-gun stuff, and his lines, income and wealth inequality, that we need to make things equal. But how do things get that? I mean, part of it is the government. You definitely have corporations in bed with the government, and you have the Federal Reserve, and you have stuff like that. And to me, that's the reason why things are fucked up like they are. But
yeah, his big thing is, the corporations are in bed with the government, so you have to regulate the corporations. But they're in bed with the government, so it's like a circular thing. But the corporations are working with the government. How is the government going to solve the problem if the government is complicit in the crime?
to an extent, I mean, the corporations want to be regulated in the sense that just enough to keep out any competition.
Yeah,
from
they use regulations
competing
against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have that. Of course, paid family leave. Most companies have that anyway. I don't. He had like a certain number. Equal pay, men and women, because of course, that whole bullshit thing.
That tired fallacy that's been proven
keep pushing
incorrect for years. Thomas Sowell's book, Economic Facts and Fallacies, breaks that one. The whole 70 cents for a dollar, every woman makes 70 cents and every man makes a dollar. That comparison is totally bunk.
So, it's bullshit.
It's Bernie Sanders is pretty heavily. See, this is the difference between him and Trump. Trump is just kind of a jerk, but he's economically illiterate. Bernie Sanders is economically illiterate too, but he really just flaunts it. Like, he just goes on and on about the economy. Like, that's his big thing. And then, like, his Twitter account, now I don't know if this is him or some sort of Bernie Sanders aide that's running his Twitter account, but I don't know if the guy knows how to tweet. But it said, it makes no sense that students and their parents pay higher interest rates for college than they pay for car loans or housing mortgages. Of course, the interest rates for college are going to be higher because they're for younger people, one, and two, it's
there's no asset.
Car loans, there's no collateral, right? You can't repossess a college education, but you can definitely repossess
suck
a car
it out of their brain.
Yeah, with a vacuum.
If they even learned anything.
Right. Yeah. So obviously that's like a huge economic misunderstanding that I don't think he ended up backpedaling on at all. I think they just ignored the people who were talking about it. But that was a big thing that happened in October that was tweeted, and people were all up in arms like, oh, he's economically illiterate. But I think most of the presidential candidates are completely illiterate when it comes to the economy, and I would argue that is the root. It tends to be the root of why people misunderstand government and policies and the outcomes, the kind of blowback that comes from government policies. They don't understand economic incentives. I think a misunderstanding of economics leads inherently to a misunderstanding of politics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have Bernie, you have his lately he's been harping on the war on drugs, like he's going to end the war on drugs because I guess he said something about drugs sometime and somebody liked it. So he's kind of he's furthering that and going into that more and trying to get that anti-war on drugs vote.
Well, I saw him talk about marijuana, but
yeah, he's big talk. But then when you look at his own state, Vermont, it still criminalizes possession. You can get 2 years for selling less than half an ounce in Vermont. So it's not like...
Well, he would say that he's the senator from Vermont, not the governor. He's said that before. Sure. So but, he's like, well, I'm the senator from Vermont. I'm not the governor.
Right. Like, sure, he's not the one who can change everything. But I was reading into his stance on like marijuana legalization, and it looks like he really only wants to legalize medical use, and he's really even what's the word? He's like even almost scared to do that. Like he's like, oh, I don't know. And then he's a few times he said, well, let's leave it up to the states. So he's going like states' rights on the issue. When they don't want to talk about the issue, is they just say, "Oh yeah, the states should decide," and everyone applauds. Yeah, and he has said in the past in a Time in Time magazine that it wasn't a big issue for him. He doesn't care. But so he mentions it. He'll mention it in places where he knows he'll get applause, which is what they all do.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
oh yeah,
if
they
they're in a
really like
certain
it if I
place,
mention stopping the war on drugs. You know,
they know like their audience, and
yeah.
Except Trump, he just says the same thing wherever he goes, I guess. But so I mean,
well, yeah, when you're able to pay the audience to be there, you can say whatever you want.
Well, we only got a couple minutes left, so I mean, I would say in summary that it's just they're different than the establishment candidates, and Trump.
Yeah,
is,
they're pretty radical.
To
when
me,
it
they're
comes to a
both
presidential
train
election.
wrecks. Really, I mean. Bernie Sanders is ridiculous and mostly all of his shit, and Trump, he has a couple things, but most of his stuff is just, you know, Republican bullshit, at least that he has changed to from what he has said before. So I don't know. I mean, I guess the attraction is the anti-establishment, and that's kind of what we said at the beginning.
Yeah, you know, it was. I noticed in researching these two guys, it was almost difficult to get some of these positions like firmly on these guys because, you know, the whole Trump thing, he switched from 1990 to now, and then Bernie's policy on drugs seems to be different. Like when you look at different interviews. And I'd say when you're looking at presidential candidates, if their policies seem different in different interviews, they're probably pretty wishy-washy. And, you know, I'd say don't look into them. If I could give any advice to anyone listening to this who really wants to vote for a president, you know, and make their voice heard or whatever you tell yourself before you check
one
that box.
vote and about, you know, 200 million, go make your voice heard.
Yeah. I would say go to voteforbernie.org and you can look up where on there, you can look up by state where and when to vote in the Democratic primary. Okay, register as a Democrat and go vote for Vermin Supreme because he's really the leader we all need. And I think I would really like a pony. So definitely register as a Democrat. All the information you need is on voteforbernie.org. And then you can register as a Democrat and vote for Vermin Supreme.
I would say non-compliance if the government is violating your rights and they're violating your human rights, and I'll even use that. Any law that is not about hurting somebody else directly or hurting their property directly, any law that is other than that is a violation of your human rights, and you have the right not to comply. Now, the government's going to say you don't. And what is the government? It's just an entity that was put together, 200 plus years ago, that has the only authority that they really have is that they assembled a bunch of people with guns that are willing to fucking shoot you and kill you. So I don't know if you have anything else before we go.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
All right. Well, as always, thank you for joining the show. And
yeah, it was fun. We're gonna do next week.
You'll be back next Wednesday, and yeah, we'll get into what we kind of got into a little, but not a lot. We will talk about what Obama's doing with gun control and just saying, hey, I'm going to ban this and I'm going to ban that, and I don't give a fuck what Congress says. So be sure to tune in next Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow to talk about something. I don't remember off the top of my head, but check in to the events on Nonpartisan Liberty for All on Facebook. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
Comply with the orders of police officers. Resisting arrest is a real and dangerous crime.
Hey, that's pretty cool. I actually used to rap, but I'm retired, so
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit last time.
But
I tend to look for beats. You can find a lot of good like rap beats on YouTube actually, and if you do a search for, because whenever I use stuff, I make sure it's in the Creative Commons. You can actually do a Creative Commons specific search, so you're not stepping on anyone's copyright toes.
Right. You know, get sued there if the song gets big or something.
Either that or Free Music Archive. I use that a ton for all of my, like a lot of my videos and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
The Shire Dude theme song I found on Free Music Archive, which is Cougars by Dumbo Gets Mad.
And then you could take it and then make changes to it and stuff like that, and add stuff, and just like sampling, like that's cool. Well, again, tonight is our first night of 2016, and we've been gone. Well, I've been gone since last Wednesday, as I took New Year's Eve off. So, did you have a pleasant New Year's Eve up there in New Hampshire? Or
it was cool. It was tough for me. I was moving. I remember. I think we talked about I was moving upstairs last
told
time.
Me you were moving.
Not a huge move, just upstairs. But and now I get to start on my new studio, which is going to be great. Right now, it's just an empty room with it's got a couple things in it, but it's going to be freaking awesome. I'm definitely going to sound a lot better than this. I know I sound pretty good right now because I'm using a Blue Yeti, but
it does sound
I'm going to get new like Audio Technica, most likely Audio Technica microphones.
Yeah, I got
and,
those
like a
too.
whole soundboard setup. So that's coming up. But yeah, like I said, New Year's I was moving, so it was like I'd stop to party a little bit, and then I'd move a little bit more, and then I'd stop to party, and it was going back and forth.
Yeah, I didn't really do much. We went to a bar that was near like the fireworks or something. They have fireworks on the strip, and that was about it. And then we went to another bar and gambled a little, and that was about it.
Yeah.
But tonight we will be focusing on two of the presidential candidates, which everybody, for the most part, knows not really something I like to focus on, but it was more of a Shire Dude idea, but I don't think it's a bad idea. And from the standpoint where you're going to get a totally different perspective than you would get on any other, government media or whatever. So
sure.
So
yeah.
we're gonna,
these two candidates, they're getting so much media attention. Granted,
that was the other reason I didn't want to give them more and shit, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, the damage is done there. I don't think either one of them has a shot, like any kind of clear shot at a nomination, unless something crazy happens. But I think it's definitely worthwhile to kind of examine popular politics and see what the average person is thinking, and remind yourself how.
ShireDude.com.
We will defend these police officers.
Listen to police officers' commands, listen to what we tell you, and just stop. The nation needs to realize that when we tell you to do something, do it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, then the courts will figure it out.
We don't get to take the law, we enforce it. But at the end of the day, each and every member should go home safe. Sometimes the use of force is necessary. You need to comply with the police officer the way the system was meant to be. Comply with the orders of police officers. Resisting arrest is a real and dangerous crime.
Nonpartisan Liberty for All. I am your host, Dave Bourne, and it is January 5th, 2016, the first show of the new year, and I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas. I actually forgot to do something last minute, And as everybody knows, I'm like retarded when it comes to multitasking and talking at the same time. I still don't know why. So I'll try to do that real quick. There we go. And I am here. Actually, you probably didn't hear it because I didn't turn up the thing for you to hear it until after. But as you heard at the beginning, the Shire Dude commercial, which is is actually pretty cool. How did you get, who played the background music on that?
Oh, I did not hear it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No, the one, but yeah, I know you didn't hear it because I didn't turn it up. You heard the intro, right? You just missed the
commercial.
Yeah, because I didn't turn it up till after by accident. But it's the same one I had from before. That it does the shiredude.com, and it has like some. It almost sounds like some straight up gangster hip hop type music in the background, like some
I'm not sure.
Dre
Was it
or
the
something.
female voices? The female voices.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
say shiredude.com?
yeah. It's the female
Okay.
voices, and it's a pretty cool background. Here, we'll play it again for everybody. This one.
shiredude.com.
Like that's a cool beat in the
Yeah.
background. Like who did that? Did you play that?
I'd have to look that up. I do not remember. But I can tell you the voices were Anne Leverett, Renee, Renee Cates, and
Yeah.
Cecilia. Actually, that was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun making that, and kind of like tweaking it too. I did like a DJ effect there where there's like a stutter. Yeah.
No, that was cool. Nah, I like the beat. I mean, I like it all together. It came out good, but I mean, I was thinking more from like that's a beat you could take and rap over. Actually.
Oh yeah. Oh definitely.
It sounded
I'll
like
look
a
that up for you.
cool beat there that you could take and actually rap over it. So I was like, nah, this
He
doesn't
was verbally
mean he voted
against it.
that way. Yeah,
He was
that's what he
verbally
said.
against it, but he voted to fund it.
Okay,
so it doesn't make any sense.
Then that's what happened. That's what I had heard.
Yeah,
him saying that he was against it, but he didn't talk about his vote on it.
Of course, there are several different bills or for different military funding, and for some of them he voted against, and some of them he voted for. So somebody tried to tell me, this was a Sanders supporter on my Facebook page. She's like, "Oh no, see, he's anti-war when on these bills." I'm like, no, you can't be anti-war sometimes and not the entire time. You're 100% or nothing on that. Like, you can't just be, I'm only going to murder people every now and then. Yeah, that's not how it works. Yeah. And, of course, Trump is no better. I mean, if we're comparing here, Trump he's actually said, with terrorists, you have to take out their families. Like, that's a quote from him. You're not just murdering the terrorists. You have to take out their families, too. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
He said there's no one more militarized than him. That was a quote. So because he was trying to make a point that there was something that he didn't support that had to do with the military, and he said there's nobody more militarized than him. Because what he was saying, and we'll get more into detail into some of these things later, but he was saying that he doesn't support war so much as he does building up the military, so he scares everybody from doing anything, and then they don't have to use the military, but he will if he has to. And I'm like, motherfucker, do you know how much money is being spent on the military?
Right.
And you want to spend more money on the military because you think it's going to scare? I mean, if it's not scaring anybody now, I mean, really? You're going to spend what? How much more
what
money?
Point do you stop?
How is it going to be so scary? Are you going to like put just say, hey, we're putting a military base here in every fucking country. We're putting 5 of them, like if they have a mileage, so every 30 miles has to be a military base or something in every country. Is that what you're going to do? Why don't they just take the whole budget and like it's all military, and then Sorry,
at a
go
certain
ahead.
percentage of the population, like what percentage of the population do you want to work for the military? If you get to like 100%, then aren't you just like another North Korea? You know?
Yeah, well, I think
what's the conclusion there?
The plan is they want the majority of people to work for the military, and I think it doesn't matter who gets elected. And we can sit here and say there's no way these guys are getting elected. However, if they are, in my opinion, what the powers that be want and they're controllable, then they have a good chance of getting elected. I just don't know. I mean, they can come off like they're not, just like Obama and his change, and he tried to come off like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this and that, and he was just like everybody else. And a lot of the things he wanted to change, I didn't agree with him anyway, but they could be doing the exact same thing and saying, and a lot of the stuff I put I put in my notes, the fascist versus the social.
Scary that is.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I have seen, and I don't know that I've seen many for Trump, although I believe there are people, I don't know what they are now, but there was somebody who has a radio show that used to call himself, I think he still calls himself an anarchist, but he's like a conservative or whatever now, as far as I'm concerned, who I think supports Trump. There have been so-called whatever anarchists, libertarians, people that support freedom and liberty, supporting Bernie Sanders as well. So these are two candidates that you do have. Now, I wouldn't call anybody who supports these candidates real people that believe in true freedom and liberty, because if you do, then you wouldn't want any rulers, so you wouldn't support any of these fuckers. So they may be more of minarchist or leaning towards that, or libertarian establishment type people. But how they can, if you look at some of the things that these guys are saying, you can't be any type of person that supports freedom in any way and really support them, because some of the shit that they support that is part of their agenda is totally just out there. And we'll get into that a little later in the show, but it's totally out there. I mean, the only people I can see is you have the people that call themselves anarchists that are leftist anarchists, I guess they call themselves. I can see them supporting Bernie Sanders to an extent, but everything he wants to do is via the government. So I don't know how you can support his platform via the government unless it's we have to do it this way first. Then once we turn it into a socialist country, then it will be easier to take the government out of it or some bullshit like that. I don't know. I mean, that's some of the logic that you get from people. I don't know.
Some nice economic illiteracy for you. I think, it's interesting too, because left anarchists tend to come from the anti-war movement generally. And Sanders is by no means anti-war, which kind of surprised me at first. Like when I first heard about him and started looking into like what he's about and heard about the hype. He's not anti-war at all. I mean, if we want to get into that issue, he voted to fund the war in Iraq. He voted to fund the war in Afghanistan. He voted to impose sanctions on Iran. This is all during his time in Congress. And he wants to continue the drone program. So, like, he's got no problem murdering people with drones. So
I didn't hear about the drones, but as far as Iraq, I thought he had said because basically they kind of have the same agenda, and that's to take more control. It's just how you're going to do it. And that's what the goal to me of governments is to take more control. So if the powers that be can control these guys, then yeah. I mean, I'm still thinking it's Hillary because, she's establishment. She's easily controllable. She's going to do what the system wants her to do, and she's already proven that.
Yeah, she's been in the system for so many years now.
Yeah, but Obama wasn't. So, I mean, he was kind of out of nowhere. There's rumors that his mom was CIA, and that's why she moved kind of, all over the place. And I actually would buy that, to be honest. It kind of makes sense. I read something on it, and it actually made a lot of sense. But, of course, the person writing it, you got to look at their perspective. They're obviously trying to attack him. But either way, I mean, if you've been in the CIA, it doesn't mean you can't be president. So, but it did seem like he was kind of groomed to be president. And if you look at all these things of coming out of nowhere and being in his second year in the Senate or something, when he even started running for president. So, and I know you're supposed to run early because what happens is, usually the first time you run, you don't win. So you might have to wait 8 more years, really, depending on which party wins, to run again. So you want to get in there relatively early and build up your name, because if you look at guys, you've seen how they've gone from like the bottom or the middle and then kind of moved up. Like, I'm trying to think of an example because it hasn't been that way recently, because you had, but Clinton, I think, ran before he became president. And then Bush, I don't know, that might have been his first time. But it used to at least be like that. Like Bob Dole, I remember, ran a bunch of times and then finally got the nomination. Romney ran a bunch of times and finally got the nomination. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like building up your reputation and, putting in your dues. Like, okay, I ran for president a couple times and now finally I'm at the top type of thing. So, but Obama,
they usually previous senators too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Obama just got right in there, and I think that it had to do with the fact that maybe this, you never know what to believe anymore. Because when you have a government that lies to you so much, who knows what the fuck they're lying about? I mean, I don't think anything's impossible.
I saw, and I'm going to preface this was a hoax that I found out later, but I saw on Facebook that Osama bin Laden was still alive, and Edward Snowden had revealed this in like documents, and he's still alive, and he's getting paid by the CIA. and I just scrolled through my feed, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably true.
Believe that?
And I looked into it.